We're going to go ahead and get started just to make sure that we are keeping up with time and everything. We don't necessarily have a time constraint, but I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We all have things to do and places to go and things of the sort. But again, thank you for joining. My name is Karinka, and this is our panel discussion on reclaiming and strengthening our culture. Pretty much just want to talk about, as Black people in this country, having a tradition that people say that we really don't, and having it mocked and all these other interesting things having happened to it. What does that look like? How do we maintain? Why is it scary to some? So excuse me, y'all. 1 second, please. Just 1 second.
Anybody know a good hoodoo joke?
I'm sorry, y'all.
I can't hear her.
I think you muted. No audio.
How about now? Is that okay?
There you are.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, it was a headphone malfunction. Okay, so with us today, we have 6 amazing panelists, 6 people that I really just vibe with. Okay, yes, we have 6 amazing panelists. I'll just be acting as a moderator. Those people are Mama Rue today. Just say hey, wave your hand real quick. She is
Hello.
pre-elder of the Arnold Delaney Hoodoo clan, and she can be found at mamaroo.com. Next, we have the gentleman of the evening, Mr. Emmanuel Bass Knight, who is the founder of Brands by Bass Knight, and of course, a well-rounded hoodoo practitioner, and he can be found at Brands by Bass Knight on Instagram.
Hey y'all.
Then coming up, we have Miss Sade from Third Generation Conjure, who is a very, very gifted, just conjure woman root worker and very knowledgeable too. I just like to watch her on Instagram and on YouTube and just listen back to what she has to say all the time. If you're there, just say hey. Miss Sade?
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Okay. Then we have Miss Ash Johns, who is a spiritual life coach, an ancestral healer, and a conscious business strategist. And she can be found on Instagram at Ash Inspires. If you just wave your hand, say hey.
Hey, everybody.
Good to have you. Thank you so much. Of course, we have Miss Toya there, who's been with us since the beginning of our technical difficulties. A wonderful root worker, a very, very gifted conjure woman, and she can be found on Instagram at the Cayenne Honey. And then, of course, we have who we've all known and been waiting for, Miss Hess Love, a writer, a hoodoo historian, a spiritual activist, and co-founder of the Chesapeake Conjure Society. And she can be found on Instagram at Hess2Love. Just say hey.
Hey.
Okay. Now, before we go any further, I do want to just ask Mama Rue agreed to just kind of bring in the ancestors for just a minute. So that was a little introduction. I just want to make sure our ancestors are here with us too. So Mama Rue, take it away if you don't mind.
Everybody relax. Take a deep breath in and out. You just brought the ancestors into you. What I mean by that is we oftentimes think of ancestors as something abstract outside of us, outside of our being, when in fact they are in us. We are manifestations of them. So at this time, I want you to hold in your mind, in your thoughts, a male and female ancestor that you have good memories of, whose name you know. Hold on to them. And in this moment, I want you to speak their names out loud. Okay, speak their names out loud. Mama Josie, Daddy Artie. Okay,
Monica Henley.
speak their names. Speak their name.
Louise Johnson.
And at this time, we invite them into the space in this moment to stand alongside us with us. We acknowledge them in all their grace and glory, all their strength. We acknowledge the ancestors of our ancestors who brought so many things to this world, so much knowledge, so much science, medicine, music, the power of thought, philosophy, architecture, engineering, so many wonderful things. That history was interrupted, as we know. And as a result, we were made to forget the power and the greatness of all those we descend from. We were made to shun ourselves, our ancestors, to the point where eventually we didn't want to have anything to do with nothing African. Okay. But today is a new day. And in this moment, we are reclaiming all of our things, all of our ancestors' things. We stand firm and proud because we recognize that what was once hidden and what was once lost and the disempowerment that became the result of all those things lost and hidden. We are now moving toward a new place of empowerment. We understand why these things had to be hidden because they were very powerful, very fearful, seen in awe. But no longer do we have those shackles and chains on us. No longer are we made to forget. No longer are we choosing to forget. We're bringing it all in and we're holding it close. We're activating all the things that time has made us forget. And with those traditions, we are moving on to becoming a new people. May our ancestors rejoice in this moment. May they receive us. May they empower us and bless us and continue to protect us and guide us. I claim this to be so.
Ashe.
Okay.
Ashe, give thanks.
Ashe.
Okay, so right now, y'all give thanks for that. That was nice and powerful. But right now, we're going to ask that if you are not muted, please go ahead and take the time to mute yourselves because there's a lot of us in here. Give thanks. We're up to 90 participants so far. And to be honest with you, going down this line, it's going to confuse me. Let's just keep it very real. So if you can just please go ahead and take the time to mute yourselves. As I see if maybe one needs to be muted, then I will go ahead and do so just to give the one who is speaking full attention. And also just to cover a couple little ground rules, I know that we are all in here adults and can keep ourselves, but we just want to make sure that everyone just knows. Let's just all recognize one voice at a time. If one voice is speaking, let's just make sure that we all be respectful and put our things on mute just to into background noise. Again, everyone might not be on the same level. Let's just, try to respect and understand that a lot of us are coming into this. A lot of ones I know in my generation and maybe just a tad bit younger are being called and being reclaimed, and they may not know exactly what or how or why, So I give thanks for the elders on the line for guiding and helping with all of that. Also, this is a family discussion. This just ain't nothing but love. This is something that is for us, by us. You know what I mean? So let's just be ourselves. Let's just be as transparent as possible. You know what I mean? In terms of, I feel, for me personally, I feel like that's just genuosity, just people, the way people are going to learn and just feel that love. So yeah, let's go with that. Now, some other ones. Each panelist is going to have, I'm trying to say 2 minutes for each topic, and then we are going to let anyone that has or would like to say something speak at that time and try to keep it down to 1 minute just because our number of participants is still growing. We're up to 92 now. And we just want to make sure that everybody has time and can feel each other's vibration within that time, basically. Okay. And then if anybody has any questions or even wants to maybe talk about a different topic, then we'll go ahead. I guess I'll go ahead and say topics too that I just, thought about. These are just little questions that I had in my head. And, Spirit actually put this on my heart a while ago. It just didn't really manifest until now. And when it did, was coalescing and everything, these are the questions that were just circling in my head. Okay. So as a people, Black people, us, what is hoodoo? What are we defining it as? You know what I mean? Um, some people say it's like soul food because I remember just growing up, I didn't really hear the word a lot. I didn't. Okay, it's just what we did. We lit some candles, we said some prayers, we didn't, we burned our hair to not put in the garbage can, that type of thing. So, what does it look like? How tangible is it? With that now, how much is too much? This is something that our people have had to keep in secret and practice in silence for a long time. And all of a sudden, I don't know if anybody else feels that energy, but it seems that nowadays, in the recent, I'm going to say 5 years or so, it's like, bam, hey, trendy, look at this. Everyone is doing it. You know what I mean? And not even necessarily everyone, but a lot more people are grasping onto this. And I think it's a beautiful thing, but how do we go about doing it properly? That's what we're here to talk about, especially with the advent of social media and things, the internet, and the lightning speed that things get carried. Okay. Um, Now, what are some, and this is, I think, important, definitely, what are some key authentic resources for learning? Again, there are so many ones that our ancestors are calling. Now people are waking up. We have to make sure that they're pointed in the right direction, because Lucky Mojo just grabbing them up. You know what I mean? And it's sad, to be quite honest with you.
Facts. Hey, Karinka, I just want to jump in quickly and say, as we do share resources, would everybody be so kind to put them in the chat, and then we can compile a list to share afterwards?
Yes, thank you. That is a great idea. Okay. Also, the last one is just basically summing it up. How do we adequately go about maintaining our culture, that it's thriving, that it's something that is not second nature, but nature, you know, and just knowing that we have something that's going to last for generations. There's this quote. I don't know if how many of you are familiar with the band Midnight as a reggae band, but one line he says, Von Benjamin, rest his soul, maintenance of culture is one of the most militant of things. You know what I mean? Doing what you do, not really giving your energy to a system that has nothing good for you, that wasn't made for you, that is actually working perfectly because it's doing what it was designed to do. So if you basically just say, nah, I'm cool, and don't give your energy, you are maintaining your culture and it's militant. Everything we do is the way we grow our hair is a political statement. Why? It just grows out my head like this. You know what I mean? So how do we go about making sure that we have those roots properly grounded? You know? So I was gonna pick panelists, but I thought that'd be a little bit too much. So does anybody want to jump in? Any of our panelists? The first topic again being, what is hoodoo? And what isn't it? How would you define it? What is, yeah, so okay. And I'm going to mute myself, and anyone, oh wait, sorry, I asked someone to unmute. I do apologize. It was, it came up too fast on here. We're up to 94 participants, just kind of came in. Um, but again, any one of our panelists want to jump in first and answer that?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
Hey y'all. So what is hoodoo? So as I was growing up, it wasn't really called hoodoo in my house. My grandmother always just called it roots, right? And so she would say, I was raised a Christian, I was raised in the United Methodist Church, and she would always say, going to church is what we do, roots is who we are. And so that's what hoodoo is to me. It is the collectiveness of who we are, as Black people in America, as African American people. It is our food, it is our dances, it is our music, it is our way of speaking, it is our traditional medicines, it is the things we do for our dead, it's the things we do when our babies are born, it's the things we do to celebrate all of our life passages. So, birthdays and marriages, and, when you move into your elder years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of the things that we think of as just Blackness, like it's just what Black people do, that's what hoodoo is. And so I think because we've given it a name, nowadays, and folks see it as something outside of themselves, they think it's really hard to attain. And they get very nervous and worried that they don't know enough. Um, and everybody says to me when they come to talk to me about it, I'm so new to this and I don't know anything. And I always say to them, you ain't new to it and you know everything you need to know. Like, you've been Black your whole life. so you're not new to it. You think you're new because all of a sudden now you're giving a title, you're giving a word to the things you've just always done, right? So eating your Black eyed peas and collard greens on New Year's is hoodoo. That's a work. It's a prosperity working over ourselves and our families and our households that we've been doing every year just because it's what Black people do. And you didn't know what that was, pouring the libations to your homies on the street corner is just a thing we've always done when somebody dies. That is hoodoo. It is a working, it is the pouring of libation for a new ancestor in memory of someone. Taking food to the cemetery, or putting food off to the side. Those corners in your grandmother's house where it's pictures of all y'all deceased relatives and there's just, a bouquet of flowers over there with it and you don't know why. My grandmother always had a locked cabinet that had all kinds of interesting and fun stuff in it and always smelled real good when I would open it up because there were all kinds of herbs and stuff in there. All of that stuff is hoodoo and you've been doing it your whole life. And so what is hoodoo? Hoodoo is Blackness. It's Black Americanness. All of the things that make us who we are. That's what hoodoo is.
I like that. Thank you so much. Hoodoo is Black Americanness.
So how formal do we want to keep this thing?
I'm just basically trying to just make sure that everybody has time. It's a lot of people on here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just want everyone that wants to, jump in besides panelists to be able to do so. But since you started talking, you want to say something for the next
I know,
panelist?
right? You can't shut me up. But I mean, I was gonna echo what everything Toya said. I kind of feel like for me, like I didn't grow up with my relatives openly practicing anything that looks like the hoodoo that I see today. My mom's side of the family was AME Zion, pastors and reverends like down in North Carolina. My dad's side of the family were Black Jehovah's Witnesses. And I had to go digging, for this information. I had to like ask questions about home remedies and like, superstitions and, what was grandma's favorite drink and, what did y'all do on like, this day. And I had to piece the answers that I received, into like this tapestry of like, oh crap, my family did practice this. Like, they didn't call it this thing. My grandma kept a little 4-pillar column when she had all the pictures of like, like deceased folks. And it was like right at the entryway to the den area of the house. And whenever a picture fell, she would go pick it up and be like, I need to call Gladys. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, in hindsight, like a picture fell and you immediately associated that with needing to reach out to a relative. You know what I'm saying? So like I just kind of feel like just piggybacking on everything that Toya shared, like I also kind of feel like the question of what is hoodoo is so simple and so brilliant because when you do peel back everything, you do see like it's our life. Um, and I had the luxury of like going to Accra for my birthday last year and just seeing black people in another country do black stuff, like the same black stuff that black Americans do, like blew my mind. Like, cause I'm thinking like the whole time I'm thinking this is just stuff that like Negroes do around the way. No, these are things that Negroes do around the world. Like the same way, in the same occasions, in the same circumstances. Not necessarily like put in the context of like spirituality around it, but like it was just it was heartwarming, and I personally want to like give a shout out to Mina Mamaru for like giving me the frame to like put all of these experiences in to realize like Toya's right. Everybody's right. Like I've been in this thing my whole life. You know, there were stories and the probably stories that you guys can probably relate to in your family of like relatives just like doing things and like knowing things. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing stuff and not necessarily calling it hoodoo that fits right into like the bucket of like what we refer to as hoodoo today. So like when Toya says like it is blackness, it is like in every degree, on every level, like this thing we call hoodoo is incorporated to our experience. Well, I just remember my mom telling me before she passed away that her grandmother, my maternal great grandmother, did some working on me as a baby with an onion. She cut an onion into four quarters, put a quarter in each corner of the room, and then after that, my mom was just like, I don't remember what she did after that, but you stopped crying. You have been crying for like a week straight. And I'm thinking like, now you not remember the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the information I need. You know what I'm saying? Like you stop at the onions. Like I need more, sister. But that was all the information that I had, and to me, that was enough confirmation that my maternal great grandmother she practiced. And then the more I spoke to my great aunts, they were telling me how that same grandmother or mother would drop keys down the backs of like my great uncles and aunts for like nosebleeds, and she would work their bed so they could sleep through the night and all types of stuff. And I was just like, that's I hope that's a lot of other people's experiences too, as we work to reclaim like our practices and understanding that a part of reclamation is kind of shining the light, on things that like our elders and ancestors did. And like I kind of feel like all of that fits right into Toya's brilliant explanation of like what is hoodoo.
Well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that because, yeah, it definitely is. Like I said, some of us have to go a little further, but we've always known. Okay, any other panelists want to hop in real quick? Is that Miss Sade? Wait,
I'm no, go ahead, Mama Room.
wait, hold on. Actually, I'm not, not to play favorites. I love you, Auntie. But there was Ash Johns and Sade actually jumped in at the same time. So, who wants to go first? I'm
I'm gonna go, Sade, Sister Sade.
All right, Miss Sade. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna do that just because we can't sit still over here. So work with me. There is, in both things that Toya and Emmanuel have shared, my people are so excited. And it's the nuance of Blackness. We could never have a list to ever quantify the numerous ways hoodoo shows up. It is not a list. And sometimes when we get caught up in the herb or the way you do something or the way you saw something, we forget that it's the essence and the energy of all Blackness. The fact that we can go anywhere and look and communicate across the room and know exactly what's going on, and we can slow down and feel the energy of where we are in our lives, what's needed, who's pregnant, who's lying, who stole, who did it on sleeping around, all of the things. I'm from Detroit, born, raised in Chicago, went to a Pentecostal Hoodoo church, wanted to say it was Holy Ghost, but it was spirits, it was oils, it was all the things that we do talk about now on the internet. And so coming into this community has been like, the fuck, it's always motherfucking been here. And now we can talk about it in a way that we couldn't do, right? So I see a negotiation of the ways we have survived so that we could be safe, and the reclamation of being bold and living in a different way, because hoodoo works whether you're working it, but it works differently when you're consciously working it, because we are using the energies, we're honoring the folks, the people who survive so that we can survive. I also see in this form of hoodoo right now, and the ways that we're reclaiming it and the state that we're in as a people in this country, but really all over the world, is doing it in a way that is, or practicing and living hoodoo in a way, Blackness in a way that is reclaiming not just what's happened in the last 400 years, but who we were before all of this. There's an innovation in the energy of our reclamation right now that I don't know how to do that in the fucking internet, because it makes it tricky as shit, right? But it's very, very necessary. And so we're fumbling through that. So gratitude that I can be here and part of this. I'm honoring the Southern Baptist and the Pentecostal and the prayer warriors. And my mom was pregnant, thinking of aborting, and went to see a doctor who was like, not this one, no, no, no. And she just told me that, similar to you, Emmanuel, this past birthday. I'm like, so it's been 30 some odd years and you didn't want to tell me that I was saved and got to be here. Now you want to tell me? She's like, well, since you have all this stuff in your house and you're doing these things, we never talked about it. We would never, ever, ever talk about it in the way that you're doing it. So I will also just mention, before I get off of here and breathe a little bit, is all of us in this time period right now, we have a role in the community and also in the lineages and the cities and the towns that we are in right now. That's so important. If I would have been too afraid to explore and to say, I know what I see, I know what I feel, I remember, and ask the questions, there would be people in my family who would still be hiding or would be in different states, in depression, in all types of situations. So this is beautiful, it's loving, it's coming home, and it's so needed in the healing of our people and the forward movement of our people. I'm grateful to be here, and I am so in love with this opportunity and everybody. Much love.
Oh, yes, give thanks, give thanks. Yes, I'm really excited about this, having this space, like you said, to share and to make everyone realize, yeah, we've always had this, and it's just something people call something nowadays. At least that's what my takeaway is getting from it. But Miss Sade, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so we asking that question: what is hoodoo? What ain't hoodoo? How we gonna define this?
So, I want to piggyback on what was said. I didn't grow up with calling it hoodoo. It was just stuff that was done that we did. Like I would see my grandma, she had a yard that was nothing but dirt, but she constantly swept the dirt. And that was people who laid tracks to raise footprints. And that's what she did. We never asked questions. She didn't call it hoodoo, but it was just different things that were done that we just knew to do this, or it wasn't something that's like mainstream like today. So, because I have a lot of people too, even like customers that I have. One thing that I think people need to realize is this practice came from oppression. Okay, so this was used for survival and a lot of times. So I think we use it different ways today. Just like I tell people, like they do love work and they do some come to me. That was used by slaves to get their husband or, their significant other to not be sold or to come back to the plantation. So I think a lot of people don't appreciate exactly where it comes from, because it has been commercialized. It has been, just became mainstream. But I think one of the things people need to realize is to understand the history behind it. So I agree, it wasn't something that we were brought up saying this was hoodoo. We may hear somebody that lady works roots or something. But just like with me, I don't show my face on the internet because it's just something that I was brought up to do. You don't tell people anything, you keep it in secrecy. So, and my mom's kind of old school like that too. So that's why we run our business the way that we do. But I think it is important because a lot of people, their people did hoodoo and they don't even know that that's what they were practicing. Because like they said, it is a culture and it is blackness. But yeah, that's my take on it.
You're on mute, Karinka.
I'm just talking. Thank y'all so much. But no, I was just saying that it was an interesting point that you brought up in terms of not showing your face and things of the sort, because I remember people saying like just don't leave pictures or pictures being important. You know what I mean? Just in terms of like you can look at something and somebody can get something from that. Or if you leave it around, it still has that energy, it still has that essence. You know what I mean? And then in today's world, we're clearly looking at each other right now and talking, or at least a lot of us are. So yeah, how much energy exchange are we doing with all that? All right, who wants to jump in next? It's we have Miss Hess Love and Mama Rue. Which one would like to go? Mama Rue? Miss Hess? Oh wait.
I can speak.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. She was actually on mute before unmuted but herself before you. Yeah.
Oh, no, I
Okay.
was just saying, I remember that Mama Ruth wanted to go, but then,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so
Okay. All right. Well, okay, go ahead. Sorry about
Okay,
that, y'all.
thank you. I just wanted to say that I also agree with Toya's explanation of what hoodoo is. And I really appreciate what Brother Emmanuel and Sister Ash had to say as well. Um, I just wanted to point out that it's everything, including our medicine. Okay. And when I say medicine, I'm speaking from an African perspective, in that it's our curatives, it's our healing modalities, it's also the way in which we alleviate certain conditions or situations. Okay, if we're at a disadvantage, we work our medicine for an advantage. Okay, if there's poor favor, we will do things for better favor. You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much as we're intermeshing everything and having a one size fit all curative for the thing. No, but it's a realization that our ancestors did not separate spirit from all other aspects of life the way that it has been done in the West. Okay. Westernized humanity just likes everything to be separate and put in nice little boxes. Whereas in my studies and research and what I've been presented with over the years is that we have a more holistic view of life and death and birth and living and spirit and what's seen and what's unseen and what's visible and invisible. We see spirit in everything, okay? Not just other people, right? Or not just the dead. Spirit exists in the groves, it exists in the running waters, it exists where two lines intersect on the ground or in the forest or in the roads. It's in those rocks, it's in those trees, it's in everything that springs up out of the ground. And so when we see and acknowledge spirit in everything, and we do have a more holistic approach to this, then it becomes less foreign to us because we see our place in all of that. We see everything around us as a friend, as family. And so we build a better connection with these things. That's what we've been cut off from, especially after integration. And, we're assimilating now, we're moving away, from the country, and we're moving away from, over yonder and whatever, and we're getting cityfied, we're getting learned and educated and getting good paying jobs. And it just seems like, okay, with all of that, what we came from is no longer good. It doesn't sustain itself. We don't need it anymore. And now we can take it a step further and poo-poo everybody that's back home that still embraces some of these old ways. And there's just shunning of this quote unquote old ways of doing things because the white man's eyes is colder. That's what a lot of our people believe. But over time, we saw that, hey, wait a minute, his ice ain't no more colder than the ice over I got. So it's like, goddamn, look at how we're living. Look at what we're doing. Look at what's happening to us. Look at our communities. Look at our statistics. You know, wherever, however you want to slice it, something obviously is not working. Now, granted, Black people have made better strides. We've had people do things that other, at any other time would not have ever happened. But as long as it's just the few and not the whole of us, something is wrong. We can bring in our cultural ways and traditions. They were practiced and then hidden, repressed, cut out, forgotten. You know, we've moved away from that. So why don't we move back toward it and see if it might make us be better, okay, with regard to how we live, how we move, how we respect the natural world around us, how we deal with, the reality of seeing spirit in everyone and everything. Because if we have that approach, we're more likely to make better choices, from a personal level, as an individual, to your family, the choices you make for your family, and then further out into the community. So just think about it. If you have a closer relationship with the plants, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to find out what are these things. And then you're going to say, oh, well, damn near half of these things here are edible. And not only are they edible, they have these medicinal benefits. So now you're eating better and you're getting sick less. And everything is it's like a domino effect. Okay. You start eating more plants and vegetables, and now all of a sudden you're dreaming true. Now all of a sudden you go out and there's butterflies landing on your head, right? That's not a coincidence, right? That's that energy. So it's like, once we embrace all the things and we start to really break them down and look at them, what we're seeing is that underlying energy in it all, right? The energy of all these things. And so we can better forge better relationships with these things. Okay. It's so necessary. One other thing I wanted to point out real quick, when Ash and Emmanuel were talking, and Toya were talking about growing up in the church, growing up with the church. And there's this whole thing, this attitude where like, oh no, I don't mess around with no hoodoo stuff. I'm a Christian. As if being a Christian automatically removes hoodoo. And that strikes me as odd, because we look at why does that have to be? What is hoodoo? Oh, it's something bad. That's all that says. Why? Because it got brought down to, oh, this is stuff that people do to hurt each other, to cause harm and conflict, to cause death in some cases, to run folk away, to drive people crazy, to break up relationships. It was like that for a period of our history. Why? Because post-emancipation times were rough for Black folk. A lot of Black folk, if you look in the ex-slave narrative, they said, shit, my life was better on the plantation because at least I had food to eat and a roof over my head and clothes on my back. And now I got this freedom and I ain't got shit. So now you've got things being really scarce and out of your reach, like jobs, housing, security. So what are you going to do if you got a whole group of people competing for one slot, for one opportunity to make enough money to have something to eat for the week? Yeah, folks are going to be doing things to each other, right? To increase the odds. So yes, that's true. It's a sad truth, but it's a necessary truth because we're talking about self-preservation. Okay? Self-preservation in the face of oppression and bondage. Hoodoo as a tool for liberation, right? Not liberation just of the body, but of the spirit as well. Okay. So when we look at all the history, the one thing that's a constant is survival, right? Surviving the times. So look at where we are today. According to some of my ancestors, there ain't not much change. A lot of this shit that's going on right now is familiar to them. It was another time in another place, but it is still familiar to them. Okay. So once we understand things like that, as we move with our ancestors and build better relationships with the spirits and relationships with the spirits of nature and things like that, we do have to see we've got very powerful tools at our disposal for addressing the things that we don't like about the world we're living in. So for me, hoodoo is Blackness, it's Black empowerment, it's the root of Black spiritual processes. So it doesn't matter what religion you want to subscribe to, be a Buddhist, be a Baptist, be a Catholic, be whatever. It doesn't change who you are. You don't cease being Black when you join these churches and temples and such. So that baseline essence of your truth, of who you are and who you belong to, that's hoodoo. Why do we call it hoodoo? According to Dr. Katrina Hazard in her book Mojo Working, and other historians and scholars as well, they've identified all the different groups that were kidnapped from Africa to be put into the slave trade. So when we consider all of those groups, especially here in the United States, they all sort of recognize, we're a new people now. Okay. You got all these different ethnicities, all these different cultures, all these ways of doing things, but there were some similarities. Once they started to communicate with each other, they started to see similarities. And so those are the things that started to, be carried over through the generations. It became a necessity to be a Christian. It became important to not associate with the spiritual practice and the healing practices of our African ancestors. We were killed for things like that. So when you're dealing with that kind of attitude being passed down from generation to generation, yeah, we did what we have to do because we didn't want to see our loved ones punished. We didn't want to be punished. So it was necessary for the elders to tell the younger ones, we don't mess with that hoodoo stuff. Oh, mama, why you put that bag over the door? You didn't see shit. Stop asking me about that. Don't worry about it. Don't ask me nothing. And we take it personally because we think, oh, they must not care about us to know. They must not love us. They don't want to teach us anything. No, they're used to that act of, I have to do whatever it takes to keep you protected mode because their ancestors and elders were right there when that kind of stuff was happening to people, being beat, being whipped, being thrown in vats of oil, being run away, shunned, ostracized, accused of being a witch and all that mess. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there.
Yes, give
Woo.
thanks, Auntie.
You can
Everyone
talk
is
all day as far as I'm concerned. You already know how I feel. So,
yeah, yeah, we don't. That's why we was like, come on, Auntie, hold on. We did. But anyway, Miss Heslov, what is hoodoo? What ain't hoodoo?
Ah, so let me start with what is hoodoo. I know hoodoo to be a system of our soul, of the things that are tangible and intangible of our soul, and tangible in the way of community and the way that we relate to the earth and the way that we see ourselves, and then the intangible of just understanding our place in the world, understanding our abilities to change the world around us. And I definitely know what hoodoo ain't, and it sure ain't for white folks. That's my what hoodoo ain't. Like, that is what I know. It's not for white folks. And I also know that it ain't something to be disrespected or to be seen as cheap or parlor tricks or lower level or dark magic or bad or what have you. Like it's a whole system that can bring upon the same blessings and maladies that anything else can. But a lot of people do disregard hoodoo as like this Passover or just American folk magic, and I know that it certainly is not that either.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is not something. I think we've all, when I say not something, I mean just something to be passed over. You know what I mean? It's something that really, like I think all of our panelists have summed it up. It's basically just Black life. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? If you're Black, you're hoodoo, whether you realize it or not, whether you called it something in your house or not. Yeah, that's just it. Okay, so that's going to bring us, and I think a few of our panelists kind of got into this. I think this next question just kind of flows. I know Mama Ru was talking about it a little bit. Another panelist, I can't remember which one exactly touched on a little bit, but how much is too much? I believe it was Sade in terms of the social media and things. But anyway, how much is too much? Uh, Knowing that our tradition is normally held in secret and for good reason, you know what I mean? Previously, there were definitely certain restraints. We could not do us, openly and earnestly. So now, with us having a tradition that we carry, how much is too much with the advent of the internet? And I really asked that question again because there was something that bothers me personally, and I'm gonna let y'all know some. It's just 94 of us on the line, right? Just a little secret about me. It bothers me to see work on the internet, to see people put pictures of active works that whether they're doing for themselves or a client out. Me personally, I feel like someone who knows what they're doing that might not have the best intentions for you can easily turn something around or put a cork in it or whatever, just send some negative energy. In whatever way that negative energy manifests, that's just how it manifests, and there you go, because you wanted to show a candle. And I'm not trying to judge nobody or anything of the sort. That's just how I feel about it. So going with that, and just again knowing that this is a tradition that we had to keep in secret, life or death reasons. How much is too much? Anybody, one of our panelists, want to jump in really quickly? Miss Hess Love, yes, okay,
I
I
want
see
to
you.
go first.
Okay.
Mhm. Oh,
Oh wait,
Yes, you talking?
I thought
there
Sade
you
said they
go.
were first or they were up first or something.
Mm, no, no, it's okay, go ahead, you jumped in right away, just it's okay, go ahead then.
it up me.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Um, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
It's Sade.
Okay, you want to go?
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
So I
apologies.
people to see like a picture of my altar. Like I've done videos on how to set up an ancestor altar, but you'll never actually see my ancestor altar or even my working altar. So we do group rituals, but like I tell people too, I'll put them online, but I never put them online when I actually do them. I might do them a couple hours before I find, because if you're in an active ritual, then you can have people who are throwing things at your work. Just participate in our group rituals. I might do a couple days prior to. I never actually tell when I start my work because I do agree with that point. And I also so
I'm sorry, you're going. I'm sorry, you're
there's
going in
certain
and out
things
a
like I
little bit.
teach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Maybe my earphones. You can hear me? Okay. Just like I teach people usually like the basics, like how to protect themselves, cleansing. But I think some things should not be broadcast and taught. Like I'm not going to teach any kind of crossing works or anything like that. So I think that's too much because not everyone needs to know different things And there's certain things that I've learned in my family that I will not. I'll tell people things, but I'm not going to tell everything that I know, because I think some aspects do need to be kept in secrecy, and for good reason.
Yes. Are you finished, man? Because I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't having no technical difficulties or nothing. But yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. Okay. Miss Hess, you want to go?
Yeah, so for
Okay.
me, too much depends on your intent to me. And what the intent someone has when they're showing something, when they're saying something, when they're doing something, when they're sharing information. I've seen the same people share information in a way where one was like, okay, so you're trying to wake folks up, kind of get them going, and the other folks, it's too much, as in they're really just doing it for attention for themselves. They're really just doing it for the clout. They're really just doing it because they want shares. They're really just doing it because they're trying to bring folks into their business. And so, like, to me, people, like, share their altars or their work or what have you. And I really, like, I sleep by it, because I feel like at the end of the day, like, first of all, like, I have never seen like the deep, dark secrets of Hoodoo online. If someone's seen them, like, please tell me, because I have never seen like the deepest secrets of them online. But second of all, I feel like even when, for example, like, we have a lot of articles, we have podcasts, we have videos, we have instructional videos that are intending to help people. And I feel like the part where it being too much depends on your intent, meaning, like, we can show people step by step how to do something, how to do a love work or what have you, but if they don't have that certain spirit, that certain soul, that's not Hoodoo for them. And there's no way for us to exactly spill our soul onto the internet in a way. And so that's what I mean, like, too much being your intent, meaning, like, what's your intent when you're sharing this information, and is the information correct? And I feel like too much is also incorrect information. Like, when you're doing too much because you're trying to make things seem glamorous or easily accessible, or because you want more people, you want quantity and not quality. And that's it for me as well. But I also know with the internet, the way that I see it is that the internet it can be you can learn a lot, but it's a very, like, shallow, surface level information. And the internet is pretty much here for aesthetic. And so what we're supposed to be using it for not only is community, but what does Hoodoo look like? Not how do you do it, not what the workings are, not, all the extra stuff, but what does it look like and who does it belong to? And get those basic information out there, pretty much.
Yeah, can I just piggyback on that? Like, I personally
Sure.
struggle with this whole idea of like what is too much. Totally understanding and respecting the fact that like discretion is like vital. Like as you work, hell, even like as you study and learn, but also respecting the fact that pretty much everyone in my circle who I felt conscious around, and not fully standing into my spiritual practices, who I thought would be judgmental, all of them are inquiring about hoodoo, ancestors, dream interpretation, everything that falls into this bucket of hoodoo. All of them are interested in learning. They're open to getting the answers, and they're also open to researching. And I personally know that that would not be the case had I chosen to remain so silent and so invisible to the point where people didn't have the opportunity to ask a question, let alone to learn. Like, totally agree with has too much is I kind of it is based on intention. And we all know people on the gram, social media who are doing the absolute most, and they are not always white people. There are a lot of black people who are doing the most, trying to get that white dollar. I promise I won't gonna be messy today, but if you want to sit around and be messy with me later, we can do that. We all know people who fall into that category. But and I don't have an answer. I just know personally that the more I pray to my ancestors, the more I learn, the more authentic and the more transparent that I am, the more I have Black people coming to me, either thanking me for sharing my experiences, asking for more information, and looking for more resources and services. So I do kind of feel like this visibility thing, I feel like it's something that we will have to figure out how to work it sooner rather than later, because this world is going to only become more technologically advanced. Black people are going to more only want to learn more about their like custom and practices that was stolen from us. And I kind of feel like if you consider yourself a hoodoo practitioner or a member of any ATR, one of your one of your values should at least be making sure you're doing your part to not let these practices die off, because that is a severe threat. Our elders are leaving. Uh, COVID-19 has taken over 250,000 people, a lot of Black people from this earth. They leave with their secrets and what they've learned. And I personally don't know how to reconcile that. And I should take the pressure off myself because it's probably a community task anyway. So it's something that we all should be trying to figure out. But in my particular experience, being more visible about what I've learned has helped. But like not showing people my work. Well, I've done a working on my brother a whole 3 months ago. He ain't got a clue. That nigga got a new job and a new car and a new everything. You know what I'm saying? And I probably would never tell him. But after that third car accident, I was just like, something ain't right. So I threw some cars down and had a talk with my mama and got the green light. And I was just like, I'm going to go ahead and do this thing. But, in that regard, I totally understand the need for discretion. But I know as a Black man, as a gay Black man, and as a cis Black man, I know other Black men who probably would never have this conversation any otherwise have come to me and say, hey, brother, I got questions about such and such. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? So I'm team visibility to some degree, but totally respecting and understanding the importance of discretion.
I want to jump in and say yeah to Emmanuel. Now everything he just said, but also I want to talk about growth and change, right? So I don't put my works online either, but that's because I was raised with a very serious respect for the evil eye, according to my grandparents, right? However, if we all keeping it funky, the reason why we here in community right now is because of the internet. The reason why we having this right now is because we found each other online. I would not have met Mama Ru in Chicago if it was not for the internet and those hoodoo groups that exist. Hess lived right here in Baltimore, and I might never have met Hess if it wasn't for the internet and having been able to create community in Baltimore around that. I see so many of you in here whose names I know from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and whose faces I recognize from those pictures, but who I've never touched or actually been in physical space with. And yet we become family because of the internet, right? And so while our traditions are something to protect and respect, hoodoo has to be a living tradition. It has to be, because we live, right? And we grow and we change. And the methods that we use to disseminate information to one another, to create community with one another, to do works for one another, to protect one another, to defend one another, to offer one another opportunity and shoulders and love and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They change and they grow with us. And this is one of the mediums that we can use for that right now. I've learned so much and I've grown so much as a worker because of the people that I've met through these spaces. So yeah, there has to be some level of discretion about what we put out there. However, what I don't ever want us to take on is fear. We shouldn't be afraid anymore. A lot of these things are hidden because they had to be. They don't have to be anymore, right? Okay, so for me, hoodoo is freedom. It's liberation. I ain't scared of white folks. And so I don't have to pretend that I'm doing these works. I don't have to pretend that I'm not calling on my ancestors. When the last time I went to the crossroads, a police officer rode up and asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was chatting it up with a spirit. Did he want to stay and watch? He went on about his business. You know what I'm saying? So it got to be sometimes when we just decide we're going to be open about who we are. So when we were, some of us, because I was raised a church girl, when we were in the church, there were things that I kept hidden or secret, as in I didn't tell everybody about what my latest prayer was to Jesus, but I was not secretive about the fact that I was praying to Jesus. And so I think we have to be willing to open up. We got to be willing to grow. We got to be willing to change, because those who are coming behind us are coming in different ways, and they communicate in different ways. And we got to ride with them, because the generations behind us need this. Like, we are the elders at this point, and we got to bring the folks up behind us, and we got to use whatever mechanisms we can do to do that. So yeah, probably don't put your altar all over the place, but but answering questions, ain't nothing wrong with that. Sharing resources, ain't nothing wrong with that. Creating community as soon as the world open up, creating community. And even right now during the coronas, mask yourself up and be socially distant, but finding a way to be together and touch and agree is great, because a lot of what's happening is because we think we the only ones. We think we the only ones talking to the spirits. You know, we think somebody might think we crazy if you say that you talk to your dead grandfather. And so if other Black people, if we all out here saying this is what we doing and we reclaiming, it helps other Black people to say, you know, the same thing they were saying in church, right? What must I do to be saved? Folks will come to you and say, like, what must I do? What do I need to do to be a part of this? Because you were out there and you were visible. So I just don't want us to be afraid. I don't want us to take that on. I don't want us to be so serious about, you know, the things that should be the mysteries, that we don't share anything. You know, I will tell people general things. I will share all my resources and all the things I know with any Black person. That does not mean that I'm telling you my family specific works. Now, there are different things, right? There is hoodoo generally. There are the things that we do generally and, you know, general knowledge. And then there are things that you do in your lineage, right? So the things that my grandparents passed to me, that I passed to my daughter, that she will pass to her children. I ain't telling y'all that. But I will tell y'all all of the things that I know, the education that I have, my knowledge, so that you can then take those things and create your own lineage specific things. So
Toya,
yeah, that's it.
I just want to thank you for all of that, because that was brilliant. Because one thing that's been on my heart to post about on my Instagram page, Brands by Bath Night, is that I feel like there's a lot of stigma from Black people who don't easily identify hoodoo being practiced in their lineage. And as I was speaking earlier, like you may have to go do some digging, but like let me tell you, you might just be the practicing ancestor that your descendants talk about 2 and 3 generations from now. Like somebody got to be that dreaming grandmama. Somebody got to be that money hand working auntie. Somebody got to be that great granddaddy who blew smoke around the house and prayed for protection. Like you just might. Oh, God knows. You just might have to be that hoodoo person in your lineage. So we
Come
are
on,
all your
somebody.
I
community.
know.
Like, and we definitely gonna help you out. But like, as someone who had to learn that for himself, trust and believe. When I met all of these women in like different circumstances, whether in person or virtually, things just clicked. This whole plan behind me, this just ain't no random plan. I don't, Mama Rue, I don't even know if you remember when I hopped in and walked into the King group a year ago and was just like, I had a dream and this lady told me to try to play me because I didn't know what a white candle flower was. Woke up, researched it, Googled it, bought the plant. Here it is. And I've got clear instructions on what to do with these flowers when they bloom and how to use them. That's the end of my family. I don't mind telling you about this plan at all, but that work I'm supposed to do, that's for the bad fights and the descendants of all the rest of these bad fights. Recently, I've been having dreams about snakes that are severed
Mm.
in multiple forms. I've seen snakes. I had a dream, and I don't mind telling you about my dreams because I'm a dream interpreter and I have dreams all the time. I had a dream recently that I opened my refrigerator door and there was this huge serpent tail. And in a dream, I'm walking around holding a serpent tail, looking for the rest of the damn snake. So I know that I'm supposed to be restoring. I know that my purpose is
Mm.
restorative in nature for my lineage. That is 100% crystal clear. I've also met a lot of other black people who may not realize it, but they're on the same track, the same path. I was at a farming conference in March earlier this year. Don't It was for farmers. I don't have a farm. I spent some time on a farm because I studied permaculture. And I walked my black ass up in that conference and asked the question, "Excuse me, elder. I'm sorry. I curse. I'm sorry. It slips out sometimes." Um, I just felt my mom kind of like pop me on the back of my head from my mouth. But my question to all the black panelists doing this farming while black panel was a couple of months ago, my great aunt who's deceased came to me in a dream and was like, "Sit down, I want to show you something." She pulled out a piece of paper. It was a map of North Carolina. She drew a cross on the paper. She put a pin at the center of the cross and she started drawing outward circles, all these loops, all these curls. And she stopped and she looked dead in my face and she said, "This is where your farm is going to be." All I know is that I heeded the call. And since then, I've been working on acquiring farmland. But you know what happened after I decided to share that experience? Every black person in that room came up to me afterwards and they was just like, "We've had similar situations and we also can tell you like how you can honor your ancestors and work your farm at the same time." Or they came up to me, they thanked me for sharing that. Or they've expressed like dreams and messages that they received while they've been working the land and acquiring land. I just shared that to say that I kind of feel like that's a great example of being visible, absolutely in the regard that like Toya has shared, but also respecting the discretion that Sade talked about. And it's a fine balance. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we're gonna like um, figure out like the right way to balance this like right now, but I do kind of feel like that's our charge for like this generation.
Thank you,
What
Miss Anne.
happened really quick? And I thought you were about to say something else, Emmanuel. I was like, wait before you. To your point, because you said two things, and I just want to connect the dots for everybody if we didn't do it already yourself. When you said our elders are leaving, and yet we're seeing the ancestors coming through and giving us everything we thought was lost. I had a moment where I was being all in this Western, I got a degree and I'm doing this and blah, 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 being like, my life and I'm supposed to. And they were like, but you over here talking to us and you worried about how many years you got left. Do you know how much work is being done and how long you'll be doing it? And all of us who are coming through now, like remembering the real relationship when you do connect with the ancestors, with your ancestors, and what we're doing as a community now. Like nothing's really lost. It can all be given right back or brought to our awareness right now to do something with. And so a piece around visibility for me is in your role, whatever it might be, because everyone has one, it might not be on the internet as a practitioner helping the community or the public. It might be for yourself or for your family or in your immediate small community or only in your job or only to the certain group of ancestors. It might just be to eat well and grow your own food for when the zombie apocalypse pops off. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, when you see me on the internet, I don't tell people that I practice hoodoo and like all my whole background. I use these generic ass titles because that work, that magic, we decide who it gets shared with. They tell me. In other words, if it's other stuff, it looks like other stuff. So a way of being visible is to how you show up, how you live, the energy that you give. I don't know about y'all, but I remember being a little girl where the elders would just look at you for a long, bleep, awkward time. Because I know I was cussing up a storm. Forgive me, elders, too. Just a shout out to Emmanuel for giving me a little side note. Like, don't forget, because I forgot. We forgot. But they would look at you for a long time and know where you were and what you were allowed to do and when you were ready or when they were going to test you. And that slowing down and looking and feel like slow down and look at people, feel not just with your mind and with your eyes, but do you feel drawn? When I saw the group and I saw Mama Rob was mad I couldn't fly back home to Chicago and join the set. I was like, what is this about? Because I knew what I could see inside of what that meant, right? So when we're living in our lineage or open to it, or it's time to have initiations or to step in or to play your role, you'll be guided to an elder. They'll come in your dreams. The stuff will happen. It's not where you need to be worrying and fearful that it won't happen, because it will. And my folks talk about teach by living. You support by how you show up. Your energy says everything. It's a restoration in that process. That sounds funny coming out of my mouth. Those are that's what we're finished.
Well, thank you, madam. Thank you for that. I just want to echo what everything that everyone has said so far. Again, just not showing. We have to know how much is too much in terms of where that point is. But Mama Ru, you got something to say on that?
I do. Getting back to, the visibility and sharing things with the world, because when you share things on social media, most times you don't have a real understanding of who is putting eyes on it. You know what I'm saying? Because even if your shit is out to private, I'm sorry for cursing, y'all. Mama, I'm sorry, but I got it from you. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, you don't know, just because, you got your stuff locked up, people are still screen recording, they're still screenshotting and sending it to people that you might not want in your social circle. For me, I think the visibility of the healing works and the medicine and the Lord's work, the root work, whatever. A large part of that visibility is transactionality, meaning most folks are trying to sell you something. And so they want to show you, hey, if you want this, you want me to do something like this for you, you want to learn how to do it like this, take my class, buy my product, book me for whatever, and on like that. Another part of the visibility is we are reclaiming, and Black folk, you got to show Black folk. You can't just tell us. You got to show it to us. We got to see, and we got to see, how did you put it together? And then after a while, how did it work? What was the result? What was the solution? So given that our ancestral traditions were oral to begin with, and they were taught by, the elders to the younger generations, and usually within family and or community. Okay. That's the part that we're trying to get back to, but we're also trying to bring everybody, we're trying to get everybody back on board with this. So yeah, there has to be some visibility. But just like some of the panelists mentioned before, we can't show you every damn thing now. Can't show you everything. Okay, I can show you how to take a bath, right? But I don't necessarily have to show the world the ring you left in the tub. You know what I mean? It's like everybody feel like they just are entitled to every single thing, or we feel pressured, to put out every single thing. But there has to be some wiggle room. Just like was said earlier, your own spirits, your own family members, your own elders, your own ancestors, your own spirit guides. They might have some things that they need to give to you. And if you've already made up your mind because you felt like, you've gotten everything from a book or from a class or whatever from the internet, then there's really no room. If you already think you know everything, that person can't be taught anything. So it's just like we really have to start relying on our own people. And by people, I'm talking about your family members, your elders, your community elders, your community members. That's a good baseline. So there is a distinction between everyday hoodoo and specialist hoodoo. When I say specialist hoodoo, I'm not talking about things that everybody needs to know about. I'm not talking about things that everybody is well suited for, because a lot of people aren't. Okay, that's just not your wheelhouse. Okay, working with them plants and things and having that connection might not be your thing. Communicate with the dead might not be your thing. Healing might not be your thing. Okay, doing making spiritual objects, might not be your thing. So that's where the specialized hoodoo comes in. And no, that does not need to be all out there for anyone and everyone to see. Okay, there are some very volatile aspects to some of these things. Okay, very hazardous aspects, downright dangerous aspects of some of these things. So we have to be a little bit more responsible when it comes to the kinds of things that we put out there. People putting binding works on the internet. Mm-mm. People doing conjuration types of things on the internet, talking about what you can do in the graveyard. Just, you know, I'm not talking about folks who are dealing with people who they know they're dealing with. I'm talking about people who just put that out there, and they don't know who's on the receiving end, who's listening, who's watching. That's irresponsible. Okay. And so we have this information overload, and I see things that, yeah, every hoodoo should know that. Every hoodoo should know how to clean. Every hoodoo should know how to cook. Every hoodoo should know how to do their laundry. Okay, every hoodoo should know how to navigate themselves in nature, right? In the world, we don't walk under ladders and we don't split poles. We don't step on no grass. We find coins on the ground, we pick them up. We do all kinds of things. What to eat on certain days, like New Year's Eve, for example, on New Year's Day, and all those kinds of traditions. Who can and can't come in the house on New Year's Day, the first person to walk in on New Year's Day morning, right? Those are just things that every hoodoo should know. Every hoodoo should know how to protect their children. Every hoodoo should know how to stave off certain illnesses, right? Every hoodoo should know how to protect their home, how to spiritually clean their home, to clean away negativity or illness. Someone was fighting in the house, somebody was real sick in the house, you just got broke into, whatever the case may be. You got to know how to clean that negative energy out, and how to pull protection and prosperity and abundance and health in, right? Everyone should know these things. And it hasn't really even been lost. It's just that some of it just did, yeah, it got shifted to the church. It got shifted with doing prayer. It got shifted with, working with the Bible and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine. Okay. That's great. That doesn't need to be thrown out just because we are now embracing the things, right? We got to keep our family traditions in there. There's a lot of good stuff in them families now. A lot of good things are in our families. But when it comes to what a root worker does, more specifically, the more challenging things, that you have to have a certain type of fortitude, a certain type of disposition to do, because you got to be able to be comfortable getting your hands dirty. You got to be comfortable with the idea of, laying in some muck, or spilling some blood, or collecting some roadkill, and maybe dealing with some innards and feathers and bones and beaks and stones. And you got to go into this field, and it might be, don't nobody go over there, but you got to go over there to get whatever it is that you need to get from over there, a final resting place for the dead, over there at the end of the dead end street, or over in that forest, but you got to go after dark. You have to know how to protect yourself to do certain things, specialized stuff. And, quiet as it is kept, there is initiations involved with those specialized things. Okay. They might not look like what other ATRs do, because it's more organic with us. Okay. Your first initiation is a water initiation. That's when you broke out that amniotic sac out of your mama womb. That's the first initiation that you had. Okay. And the spirits determine the subsequent initiations. And sometimes those things ain't pretty and they ain't fun. Okay. Walking away from death. Okay. Almost dying, having died, and come back. Okay. Because when you come back changed, right? Something shifts in you. All right. You got rewired and you notice your dreams are different. What you do with your hands and your mind are different. What you do with your tongue, what you do with your pen on paper is different. Okay. That doesn't happen to everyone. But for those that it does have happen to, there's a lot of fear associated with that. Okay. They know something's there, but they don't know what it is. They've been taught all their lives to be fearful of these things. Okay. When it's time for you to get that elder or that teacher, if they're not already in your family, the spirits will know when you're ready and they'll put those people on your path. Okay. But it's just not meant for every single one of us to be a specialist. Okay. I have so much respect for those different things. I'm a seer. I divine. I do readings. That's what I like to do. That's my thing. And I would be totally happy if that's all I could do for the rest of my life. That's why I'm so proud of each and every one of you, the people on the panel with me, as well as those of you who are listening in or watching in, because you are all right now getting comfortable with that reality. Okay. Whatever your role is, whether it's just teaching and carrying on the traditions of family, or whether it is being called to do one of those specialized roles, whether it's catching babies, whether it's walking with the elders and seeing them off into the realm of the ancestors, whether it is speaking with the dead, whether it is trying to figure out what's going on with someone that's got something going on that they call a haint or whatever the case may be. Okay. Okay. Everybody's got that thing. And we need to have those positions restored. Every Black community needs to have our specialists, and every Black person, every Black household should be honoring the ancestors and know those everyday hoodoo things. What most of us already know most of them as it is, but a lot of folks don't. Yeah. And for those that don't, you need to get to getting.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Just really quickly, I didn't want to interrupt. I hope that you came to a little stopping point. Miss Ash Johns did say that she has to go in just a second. I just wanted to see if she wanted to say anything else, before she.
Oh, that's what you meant. You ain't call my mother for that. No, I was gonna wait to why and be like, I'm gonna see y'all next time.
Well, we just loving up everybody here, so just wanted to make sure that you don't want to, say something else, get something else in real quick.
No, just gratitude. Glad that we can come together. Thank you for organizing this. Honor to the elders here, to every role, that every voice, every elder, every ancestor who came through, and the spirits that be. Let us, as I depart here, be protected until we get to come again. This is a whole thing, y'all. Okay.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. Wonderful. But yes, respect. Thank you. Looking forward.
Yes, sis. Thank you so much for your energy and your input. Love, love, love. But before we get into just the next question really here, I didn't really get a chance to just read the name really quick, but someone sent a love donation and give thanks. And again, love donations will go to the organizers and the panelists just as a way of energy exchange. Give thanks so much. And if anybody wants to do that, I will put my Cash App in the chat box. And then again, also panelists, please don't forget to give me your Cash App so that I can disperse it accordingly. All right. So now our next question is key authentic resources. Where can we, other than sitting at the feet of our elders, because a lot of us are not able to have that opportunity for whatever reason, where can we go to really, really get this information, but authentic, genuine, for us, by us type stuff? So anyone want to go with that one?
Well, first of all, don't listen to nobody white, right? So that's number one. You don't learn from Black people about Black stuff. Okay, that's it. Like that's the general rule, is that hoodoo is Black, And that's why we're talking about the reclamation thereof right now. So, number one, if they ain't Black, throw out everything they got to say, right? So that's number one. Number two, I trust the people on this panel. I respect them. I respect their knowledge. I respect their education. I respect their hearts and intentions, because that's always important too. I'm not taking nothing from nobody nasty. I'm just not. So even if you got good education, if you can't pass education to me with kindness, with respect, with some level of gentleness, I ain't trying to hear it from you. So I just want to say that I honor and respect. My very loud cat is in the background scraping her bowl all over the floor like she died of starvation. So please excuse her. But anyway, I respect the people on this panel. But I would tell you, start with Mama Roo. Start with Mama Roo. Listen to what she's talking about. She know what she's talking about all day, all day. Even though, you know, she and I are not family, I'm not over there in Chicago, I'm over here in Baltimore or whatever, I look up to her as one of my elders. I respect her. I honor her. I name her in my libations. So, you know, I'm always like, she knows she talking about. And then the people on this panel, when you see them, pay attention to who they talking to, right? So if you respect us, then just watch and see who we talk to and who we respect, right? Because you learn about the people that are good through community. You learn about people's lives and the way they conduct themselves through community, through watching them. So, yeah, don't just listen to what people say out of their mouths. Listen to how people behave. Watch them, watch their character, and the way they act in community. If everything that they're giving you is about themselves and it ain't about the upliftment of Black people, if it ain't about bringing us all out, if it ain't about liberation, then discount it, discount it, discount it. And pay attention to what Mama Ru said about roles, right? Because all of us can't do everything. And so I respect people who say, I don't know that thing, or that isn't my specialty. And so I want to introduce you to somebody else who can do this thing, right? So I am a nerd, I'm a reader, I'm a sponge, I remember things, and I'm a teacher. But if I needed you to know history, I'm going to point you to Hess, right? Because Hess is a historian. Like, that's what Hess does, and is expert at it. And so I'm going to say, if you want to know about history, go to Hess, right? Honor people who will say, that ain't my thing. You know, I was listed as a root worker on here, and I do work the roots. But I, myself, my specialty, I'm a conjure woman. Okay. So I work with the spirits. I'm a medium. I'm a diviner. That's what I do. I can talk to your dead for you, right? But if you want somebody to create a tea or a tincture, I'm going to point you to somebody else. So learn through community. Create community for yourself. Enter these spaces and just watch people and watch their behavior, and pay Black folks. Pay Black folks for their energy. Pay them. You know, don't sponge off of people. Don't use folks. Energy exchange is real and necessary, not just between people, but to the spirits. The spirits demand payment too, right? So when you taking that liquor and them offerings and everything to the crossroads or to the river or to the forest or to the railroad tracks and all the different places that we go to meet the spirits, they tell you don't come empty-handed if you want something from me. You go with payment. Treat your fellow Black people the same way. Pay folks for their energy. All right, that's it.
Yes, energy is an exchange. I give something, you give something. It just has to flow. It just has to flow. That's all it is. So anyway, okay, who's next? Who wants to jump in? Where we going to find some authentic resources? Well, Hess, how about you? Because you unmuted and you're a historian, and I'm sure you know all the resources. Oh, and also, like Emmanuel said, if we know any like book titles or any other resources, let's just try to put them in the comments so that we can, compile a list and things of the sort.
So one of my favorite resources is not, I can name some authors, but one of my favorite things is the literary tradition of Hoodoo, because so many Black writers have kept the storytelling and different aspects of Hoodoo alive in their writing. And what I have been finding is like your Toni Morrisons, your Patrice Berrys, your Alice Walkers, your Ishmael Reeds, even like old folklorist writers have been literally keeping this alive for us in wording. And the reason I think it's a necessary resource to look up the like Black folklorists and your Black writers who are kind of akin to Toni Morrison and Toni Cade Bambara, and other writers, is because it smacks it in the face that these people are like, oh, y'all didn't listen to your grandparents. It was this long lost tradition and everyone almost forgot it and you didn't hold on to it. Like, no, it's literally been in our stories this whole time. And there is not a gap in history and where Black people have been getting published where I'm like, I cannot find a book that has Hoodoo elements in it, that has this storytelling and the ways that we got so many morals and stuff. And I think there's like, just like African people, just like as a new African tribe, we are so proverb heavy. We go by proverbs for so much, and we'll have elders who tell us things and they sound like riddles or whatever the fuck, and they're all in the books. So the books, like I mentioned, Toni Morrison, Patrice Berry is an author that's particularly slept on, and she writes about like a lot of Hoodoo things. There's also there's a man that Maru got the book from. His name is Arthur Flowers, I believe. He has quite a few books, a new book, and he has like some older books called The Conjure Man and some other stuff. Who else? It's like Tony. Her name is like Tony Anza or something of that nature. So she has a book called You Know Better, Baby of the Family. For folks who are familiar with like Black like literature, like in the 90s, you might know who she is. But those are authentic resources. And I say it's because you must learn the stories. You must learn kind of the way that Hoodoo is in our lives, right? Like just kind of trying to separate Hoodoo is like I want this for this. It's like a transactional completely. It just kind of takes like the beauty and the romanticism from Black experience. Like we have stories, and there's a story around how somebody, like Emmanuel kind of explained how his family taught him how to use that white candle flower. There's a story behind that. There's stories behind what comes behind our dream. There's a story behind, how we learned not to sweep someone's feet. We have stories behind all of our great work, and a lot of that is preserved in the books of Black authors, and you just kind of have to, it's not going to tell you how to do no tricks and no spells, but it preserves something really special. So definitely the books, and definitely Toni Morrison. Yeah, Tina McElroy Anza. Yeah, definitely Toni Morrison, definitely Patrice Berry. And it's going to give you context for a lot of what can be just like pure information. And also Dr. Katrina has her Mojo working, cannot forget her. That's another great book to read.
I don't have any additional. Well, I don't think I do have any additional resources to share. Well, I will say this though, and this is like not to shame anybody, but like what I've come to realize is that if you don't like reading, it's gonna be kind of difficult to like soak up the historical context of voodoo. Like the fact of the matter is, in this society, like that doesn't pay respect to oral traditions. A lot of stuff is written down. A lot of stuff is in books. So I do kind of feel like focusing on authors that have highlighted is like really kind of one of the best ways to create a foundational relationship with hoodoo, especially from a historical and cultural perspective, because it's just a lot of stuff that was like I kind of feel like it had to be put in book form to be preserved. You know what I'm saying? So um, get ready to read. That's kind of all I wanted to say.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Anyone else want to jump in real quick?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
Um, family, your own family. Um, how folks cook their food, because a lot of us don't write down recipes. We get those recipes passed down to us. Just pay attention to what's being used. Okay, all ingredients to a meal carry the same energy regardless of our intention. So maybe, if you're making a meal, let's say you're making some chicken, right? If you eat chicken, what's the number one herb that goes in chicken for all you cooks out there? What's if you could only pick one green herb, what would it be? I don't know about y'all, but I like sage with chicken. Everybody puts this emphasis on the sage bundle burning and the smudging and the woo 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 around the sage smudging. But y'all done plumb forgot about just regular old culinary sage that we use when we make our meals, right? When we make dressing or for Thanksgiving or, the chicken or whatever the case may be. Regular sage is still powerful. And when you combine that essence of what the sage represents to you, you need some healing for your finances, for example. Sage is great for that. Okay. And you put that intention into that meal. And then everybody who consumes that meal is what? Blessed, right? So, we got to start thinking about what's closer to us in our day-to-day lives instead of always looking outside. You know what I mean? Like with the books and other resources. Not saying that they aren't good, because some of them are very good, but let's make this a little bit more personal. Yeah, let's make this a little bit more meaningful to us and our day to day. My mama just told me not long ago. I don't know if she's still on here, but she just told me not long ago about a word. Oh, mama, I know how you feel about me sharing things.
Go ahead, Grandma. I know you want to say something.
Um,
I was gonna say,
please don't.
don't get in trouble on our account.
I can't. I don't see her video in front of me right now, but
No, there
I'm
she
getting
is.
I'm getting the impression that she's okay
Okay, here
with
we go.
me sharing this about the vanilla mama, about what you said about the vanilla as a curative. Okay, she was using this vanilla extract as a curative. That's all I'm going to say about that. But my point is, everybody got vanilla extract in their cupboard, right? So it's like, yeah, we use it when we make our cake, right? When we make our, when we bake our desserts and things like that, our puddings and whatever, we're gonna use that vanilla extract. But now you just learned today that vanilla extract is used in an old hoodoo healing remedy. Okay, in a topical way. So it's like, you know, so we have to start just personalizing it and becoming more intimate with what's close to us. Just about down there, everything we use to cook a meal is used in a work. Okay.
That's true.
I had a nasty influence in my house, a nasty influence in my house by way of a person. I wanted them out. I wanted them and their nasty energy out. So when they were leaving, I made it my point to say, this is the last time they're gonna be in my house. And while they was in my living room, I went to my kitchen. I just mixed up some damn black pepper and some salt. Okay, and a couple other things. And I just mixed that up real quick, put my prayer into it real quick, and I went back in there. She, getting ready to pull out, and I walked right behind her and made sure I cast that mixture and every step that she took from my house outside all the way to their vehicle. Okay, very simple but powerful work. Ain't been back in my house since, and it's been some years. So let's start looking at what's closer to home. That's the lesson my mama taught me. When I was fretting over some work I was doing for somebody, and I didn't have the herb because everybody on the Facebook said you got to have this herb, and I'm like, oh, okay. I need it. I need it then. Shit. If they're saying yeah, and nobody had the damn thing. So I'm fretting out. I'm just like, man, because bro already paid me the money and I'm not even gonna be able to deliver because I don't have this one thing. So she called me and I'm all stressed out, and she's, what's going on? I tell her what's going on, and she's like, if you don't take your ass outside right now in the back and let the spirits know what you need, and you go to the one that lets you know I'm the one, and you take that and see, won't that make it right? And I said, yes, ma'am. And I went out there and I did that. and I got the results that the client needed to get, you know? The same way that she dropped that knowledge on me, a lot of you have already confirmed that you've had similar situations, not only with elders, but with ancestors. And it's not no big spooky woo 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 thing. They just showed up in a puff of smoke, you know, while you was doing your laundry. You know what I'm saying? They're the little voice in the back of your head, huh? They're that part of your discernment. They're that part of your gut, right? They're that little thing in your mind that tells you how to move a certain way, how to make a choice. You know, do I go left or right? Something said go right. Okay, I'm gonna go right. Because then if something said go right and you're like, nah, I'm gonna go left, then you end up talking about it later on. You call your girlfriend and say, child, sit down, you ain't gonna believe this shit. And you start telling them something told me to go right. And I went left and look what happened. I ended up in this car crash or whatever. You see? That's your ancestors, okay? They're already there guiding you. So if that's true, what do you think is going to happen when you openly, fearlessly, and unapologetically let them know? Oh, okay. Yes, they've always been with you, but when they see that you are taking the step to openly acknowledge them back, that's the real quote unquote magic. Okay, because that's what everybody wants. Okay. All these folks out here, they want what they think magic is. We are the magic. I mean, you know, that type of phenomena, you know, these things that can't be explained and, you know, supernatural, paranormal, that's our normal. It's the people that it's not normal for that have to put a word in front of it. Para, ab, super, right? Because that's not how they move. That's not who they are. That's not their essence of being. That's ours, right? But we've been so conditioned, okay, oh my God, the man was standing on the ground and now he's 10 feet up in the air. We're not supposed to be phased by that shit. That's our stuff. That's us. That's what we can do. But if when you're cut off from that, it's like woo woo woo. So we got to stop that mess. We got to stop the whole woo 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 around our own stuff. Okay, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you go, whoa, shit. You know, you're familiar with your reflection, right? So when you take a look at yourself, everything that's supposed to be so mystical and magical and powerful and woo woo woo, that's you. That's already you, okay? You just got to start connecting those dots to make it real and meaningful for you. And I don't know if there's a book out that tells you that. And if there is, let me know because I need to read it. That's all I have to say.
Well, give thanks, give thanks. Miss Sade, did you want to say anything on the key resources? Or where we can go to, you know, authentically learn about us?
I think a lot of people said some of the stuff that I was going to say, so I think I'm good.
All right, give thanks, give thanks. Okay,
Can I
now,
just share a quick story about especially the ingredients that we ingest, like used for cooking?
okay.
My father's father was a cook in the Coast Guard for like years. When he left the Coast Guard, he had like a little restaurant in Connecticut. Then he moved back to Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And he was like the neighborhood cook. He was a man that cooked probably before it was cool to be like a, you know, a cook and a man because that was considered woman's work. And he always used to tell his sons and his grandsons that every man needs to know how to cook because if you wait for a woman to cook for you, you never eat because they got better shit to do. So he made sure that like we were all comfortable in the kitchen. But everything he cooked, he threw a bay leaf in. Everything. It didn't matter what it was. A bay leaf was going in it. I don't care if it was just like fish or sweet potatoes or whatever. He was gonna throw a bay leaf in that joke. It wasn't until like I started to like learn about hoodoo that I like understood like the significance of a bay leaf to Black people. And then additional reading, I learned like the significance of like a bay leaf to like Mami Wata. And I was just like, man, like I don't even know if he realized like that was his way. Yeah, it was from the Carolinas. I don't even know if he knew or maybe he did. Like, that was his way of like blessing us based on how he cooked and what we ate. But he did. And they're like, so my prayer is that like everyone who's listening and who's watching this, like you were inspired to do like exactly what Mama Ruth said and like go back to like your relatives and just like look at the things of everyday life with a very discerning eye, and you will see like aspects of like our spiritual practice in it because like it's black people, that's what they do. So like I thank my granddaddy for, putting me on a bay leaf. I keep a bay leaf in my kitchen all the time. I make a tea. I put it in my food. I burn one to say a prayer. Like, if there's anything I can do, I can work a bay leaf. So I just wanted to share that as support for what Mama Ruth shared.
Yes, give thanks, give thanks. Anybody? Well, I think that was all the panelists on that. And any additional thing on that? No? Okay. So just going forward, just in keeping essence of time, because I know we already have one panelist that had to go. And y'all been rocking with us for almost 2 hours now, so give thanks for that. But we just want to get into our last topic real quick. And then after the panelists speak on that last topic, if anybody else would like to say something or ask a question or anything of the sort, we'll go and do it that. All right, so this last topic now. I think we kind of touched on it or somewhat answered it with everything that we've already said, but what is the adequate way to go about preserving our culture? How do we do that? What does it look like? What do we tell our babies? How do we really hold on to that ancestral knowledge and not even just hold on to the bits and pieces that we have, but expand, you know what I mean? And make sure that it's growing and thriving. And I personally have this thing, and it's not even really personal, it's just something that everyone wants the next generation to be better. You want your children to be better than you, you know? So what are we going to do to ensure that this is better and our sweet potato pies taste better when our grandchildren make them, so to speak? How are we going to do that? Who wants to go?
I'd like to go first real quick
All right.
and say that the best way to do that is to do it. To do it. I know a lot of people are doing this solitary, individualized thing, and they're kind of cut off from the rest of the family. And it makes me sad because this belongs to their family, so I'm starting to see a move toward that now where people, they got to get it out their head that they're practicing witchcraft and spells. Okay, what they're practicing is a black way of life. So why does that need to be done in secret amongst your own black ass family members? All right, that has to change. Then we need to start reestablishing our traditions. Okay, our birth traditions. I'm seeing such a beautiful, powerful movement towards people returning to our birthing traditions. I'm seeing people moving towards, the death and our funerary rites, okay, with our death doulas. And we're starting to see people who are committed and passionately so about reestablishing or establishing rites of passage rituals and ceremonies for our young people and our children. Okay, because these things used to be done. So there's a lot of shame and guilt or whatever associated with what some of these things are. Okay, like celebrating a young girl's rite of passage, to womanhood. Okay, or celebrating a young boy's rite of passage to manhood and warriorhood and things like that. Our marriage ceremonies, there needs to be a reinstatement of our traditional ways with, how we do our unions or how we celebrate unions. We're making our own holidays. Happy Hoodoo Heritage Month and Happy Man of the Crossroads is today. Okay, so we can start by, taking your family members, your kids, your elders, or whoever you have with you, your significant others. Go to that crossroads. It doesn't have to be out in the country or out in the woods, which is one of my favorite ones, is out in the woods. But it can also be that intersection at the end of your block. Okay, two paths that cross each other, very accessible. Okay, if you feel awkward going on foot, you might be able to go in your car. But my whole point of that is honor that spirit, because he has gotten us very, very far as a people. Okay, whether we know it or not. And unfortunately, yes, that spirit has been relegated to the Christian devil. And if you follow me on Facebook, I posted a video clip today that talks about that, or I was trying to encourage a dialogue about that. It's a video clip from the film Crossroads. And the man of the crossroads, he's referred to as Legba, but he said, no, I ain't no Legba. But he basically personifies the Christian devil that you go to at the crossroads if you want to sell your soul in exchange for a certain type of power. Okay. We don't sell our souls to any spirit for any power. But y'all did touch on something a few minutes ago, and that was exchange. If you go to an elder's house and you know that her favorite thing in the world is a pecan pie, what are your odds that you will take that pie to that elder's home and walk away better, having learned some really powerful things, versus if you just went empty handed or just took off some old other kind of thing that you don't really like? Okay, it's that exchange, right? I know if you showed up at my door with a pot of really good seasoned greens, our conversation might be a little bit different than if you had shown up with nothing. See? So when we go to the spirits of the crossroads or any place of spirit, just like it was said earlier, you cannot go empty handed and expect anything. And that's whether or not we're taking bits of our work that we've done, we take them to the crossroads because we know that that spirit is a messenger for us. Okay, he takes our earthly things and carries the essence or the message or the intent of that work over to the spirit realm. Okay, and we leave him something like coins, like a little bit of liquor, like a cigar or a cigarette or some snuff or whatever else you feel moved in the spirit to leave. Let white folks tell it. The crossroads is a spiritual dumping ground. Okay. Now there's black folks walking around. Yeah, you just throw everything like trash in a crossroads. You actually take your bottles and your glass candle holders and you smash them on the ground. But they didn't say anything about leaving no offering. So just like Sister Toya said earlier, don't listen to these white folks. They done wrote many a book. Okay. But please do not listen to them because they will have you in a not great way with your own spirits. Okay. So getting back to our traditions, it's not that difficult. It's very, very simple, especially for our younger people. You know, with children. Children need to see things. You might not need to tell them every single detailed aspect of it because they might not be, you know, they might not have the mindset to really understand it. But that comes with time. And as they grow and mature, you add on a little bit more. You know, you can get down to the straight up metaphysics and science about something if you really want to. It's all there, you know, but that takes time, that takes growing, that takes living. And we need to have that kind of flexibility to be able to just, you know, work with what we got, work with what's familiar, and just add that little bit of what was kept from us to that. And the best way to do that is just to make a declaration to your ancestors, because they know what we've gone through. They're not unaware. They know what's been done and they know why it was done. But when we can stand tall and firm and let them know, hey, I understand that certain things were taken from you, or you had to hide them or stop doing them out of fear. But I stand here today ready to pick up that torch that you laid down so that we will not ever be in the darkness again. Okay, so we can reclaim our power. So that's all I had to say on that.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't on mute. Yeah, you know me. But all right, we did lose another panelist. Miss Toya had to go, but again, we give thanks for their time and energy because it's been a great couple of hours just so far. We still have a couple of panelists. That would anyone want to jump in on that one? How do we go about properly maintaining? Miss Hess? Yes, go ahead.
Jump in. I have to go shortly in a second too.
Okay.
Just piggybacking on what Mama Ru said, I know a lot of us kind of experience not really not reclaiming this until after a family member has died, right? And then we're trying to, like, our closest family member has died and we might not be close to everyone else, so like trying to recall, and so much of what we're doing is recalling. So what I think about as a parent is both pride and repetition. Like, I know my kids aren't necessarily always sitting intently the way that I want to, but I'm so intentional in repeating and repeating and repeating the way my grandmother did with me, the way that she did with my name, the way she did with like telling me why to brown flour for skin, like the way she did with like telling me to go outside and do certain things or how to write certain things down to make them come. Like, she just kept repeating. And like when I was a kid, and even up until she died, like I wasn't super into it. I was like, okay, grandma, like, you know, like, all right, you know. And then as I got older, I'm just like, wow, you know, trying so much to recall what she taught me. And I think one of the only reasons why I'm able to recall so much is because she repeated the shit out of it. Like, she did these things like 85 billion times. She had me do shit all the goddamn time, and I hated it. But just knowing kind of how youth works, like they sometimes just not into it, depends, right? So like just repeating, and if they don't pay attention, if they're not sitting intently with their legs crossed on the floor the first time you try to explain, do that joint again and do it again, and just bring them along when you do it. You don't have to make a special provision to show them, just bring them along when you do it, but also like narrate. And also I think the other part in preserving our traditions is pride. My grandmother was a very prideful Black woman. We had only Black art in the house. The only white people who came in our house, people on TV. Like, that was it. That was the only white faces that came, you know. Very much about know your history, and not only your general Black history, but your family history too. And I think that's hella important, of stressing the importance of knowing who you are and being proud of what Black people create and what we have. And that way you won't have to, when they do kind of come in, when our youth do come into this, okay, I'm getting older, you know, I want to take more intentional spiritual direction. They don't have to unpack so much stuff. They don't have to unpack so much anti-Blackness. They don't have to, like, you know, war with internalized racism or something. They can just kind of go right into, you know, the rest of the spirit work, because kind of the way that racism impacts our soul and our spirit is really insidious. And I really do feel like you shouldn't start a whole bunch of hoodoo or root work until you get that right, because you can, you know, like, you can just misdirect. And so I think setting our children up for success is just continuing this pride, telling them their history, telling them to be proud in watermelon and collard greens and black eyed peas and greens, and making sure they don't end up like the character from this horrible movie called Spell, like that just came out with Omari Hardwick. But just that, like that, just repeating, because just in case, you know, if someone may have to leave way more early than we want them to, you know, like that story sticks with them.
Yes, ma'am. Give thanks. Miss Sade, did you want to jump in real quick? I'm sorry, Manuel. I saw her
Yeah.
before you.
No, I'm sorry. I hit unmute by accident. So
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead, Sade.
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone else has said. I think it's just a point of showing, like, you're showing your children and doing what we're doing now, as far as like educating people who may not have been brought up in the practice and were not really told, you know, exactly what they were practicing, even if they had their ancestors who did it. Just like I have a 5-year-old, like I have a 10-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. My 10-year-old, he'll ask me questions every once in a while because we run a company, so we make different oils and so forth. But like my 5-year-old, he asked me for an ancestor altar. So I think sometimes you have children a lot of times that may be a little bit more interested, because even with him, you know, he's 5 and he's asking for an altar and he wants to burn a candle. So I think it's just a matter of, like they said, you know, passing it down to your children. But you know, you may have some who are going to be more interested, I will say, than others. But I think it is important that we preserve it and that we make sure that you know, our lineage and our tradition and our heritage continues on.
I just
Yes.
want to add to that quickly. Man, like, just thinking about how this would resonate with children as they grow older and become adults, and then they have children, and then their children have children, is enough to like, ooh, make the hairs on like the
Yeah.
back of my neck stand up. It's that's like, man, like that's enough to move you to tears. But like, so Sade, thank you for sharing that because you reminded me of when I bring my oldest nephew to Chicago every summer. He's like 13 now, but his first trip was when he was 7. And
Hmm.
that's when I kind of unknowingly had an ancestor altar. I didn't know what an altar was. I just knew after my mom passed away, I felt disconnected from all my family in North Carolina. So I kept a picture of her, a candle, and some flowers because she loved flowers. And one of my homegirls came in and was just like, when you start making an altar? And I was like, what you talking about, an altar? Well, I want an altar. So then I kept it up. My nephew saw it. And now when he comes to visit me, like as soon as he walks through the door, his beeline is straight to the altar to tell like my mom, his grandma, like hello. And
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
no huge crazy, hullabaloo or anything. Just him coming in and saying like, hey, Grandma Rita, and then that's it. So
Yeah, but my
reminding me
son
of
does
that.
the same
Thank you.
thing. He comes to my altar. He'll just say, "Hey, y'all," and he'll talk, and you know. So I think some are just naturally drawn.
I do want to say that too, because I have a 3-year-old. She'll be 4 in December. And right now, like she'll, in a sense, imitate what I do. There are definitely times like, and Mina can attest, because or Mama Ruth, excuse me, I was just like, please stop moving the shells. Please stop moving this. But then I'm like, wait a minute. In order for her to, get a good grasp of it and have a good vibration of the whole thing, it has to be nice. So I'm like, okay, well, this is that, and now she goes and she's like, okay, give, like, I'm just always saying, just say give thanks. You don't know what else to do, just say give thanks. And then even today I lit a candle for Man of the Roads and things and stuff. I don't know why she likes putting the candles out, but I'm like, you know what? You're by the altar. You like doing it. You're gonna learn. So hey, you're soaking it up. Whereas my oldest now, she appreciates, but I noticed that my youngest one will go to the altar more often than my
Hmm.
first one. Yeah, it's definitely just a difference. Um, okay, so I think that was pretty much it from everybody. Now, panelists have
Hey,
spoken.
Karinka,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
can I share one more thing about preservation? I just
Sure.
want to say this quickly. Give yourselves time. Like, there's no rush to be like the supreme of hoodoo, you know what I'm saying, and master everything and know everything. Like, this is an art and a commitment to like remembering, as Mama Ru shared. So like, it's gonna take some time before like your folks know that you're ready. You know what I'm saying, to like handle and recall and draw back a lot of the stuff that you don't consciously know. Um, when I realized what this was and what I was doing, I was like jonesing for like, a mentor. It took a whole 3 years for me to meet Mama Ruth. You know what I'm saying? In those 3 years, I didn't like sit idly by. Like I read, I met people, I listened to what people had, to share with me. And by the time I met Mama Ruth, I was ready. You know what I'm saying? So I just share that quickly to say, like, preservation is like also you understanding that like it's going to take time for things to unfold. It's going to take time for you to realize patterns. It's going to take time for you to realize like how spirit talks to you. Everybody's not clairvoyant. Everybody's not clairaudient. You know what I'm saying? So like, I would just share like, in knowing that you are actively working to preserve your spiritual heritage and identity, just like also understand that like things take time. So that's it.
Yeah, be patient, with yourself and things. I think a lot of people get excited and be like, "Oh, yeah, let me run. What is this? And why is this not working?" It's just like you got to walk before you run. You know what I mean? And give yourself time for things to come. The teacher comes when the student is ready. So yeah, give thanks for all of that. But now, was the floor is open to anyone that has a question or another comment or anything. Would anybody of our participants just like to say something? I see someone, Ashley Daniels.
Yeah, I wanted to first just give just deep gratitude for this space and for everyone who made this possible, and for each of you who shared like your wisdom and sincerity. To Emmanuel's point, like for the last 2 years, I'm like, I need a teacher. I need a teacher. Uh, Emmanuel, I live in North Carolina. I live on the coast, and also come from an AME Zion background of a lot of preachers and pastors. So a lot of what you said resonates. Um, but yeah, I guess my question is, when is this or some semblance of this going to happen again? Would just very much like to be in the space and to be prepared for it.
Um, well, as an organizer, like I said at the beginning of the call, Spirit just kind of put this on my heart a minute ago because, again, I saw that our culture, the traditions that I had grown up with, are becoming a lot more popular. And to be quite honest, just a lot more monetized, you know? And I was just like, okay, what are we really doing with it? So that was just really the thought in my head. And it was a while ago, and Spirit just now gave me the okay in the past like month. And I guess really in honor of Hoodoo Heritage Month, you see how synchronicity happens. And I wasn't even really expecting it around this time, but Spirit was just like, okay, do it now. And luckily it came together. And I really just give thanks for all y'all's energy because y'all just came together now. Me personally, I would love to do it again. I don't mind. I love sitting down and talking to my people and making sure that our community is thriving, you know? Um, so my answer to that from my end, maybe somebody else has another event going on. I know that there are a bunch of events going on, especially around this time right now with the veil being open right now. Um, but for me, for to do something, I'm just waiting to get the okay for Spirit. So just basically keep in touch with me, Southern Roots Woman on Instagram. Okay, and I will definitely. I have a fire to do something right now, so I really would like to do something again. But I know there's other events going on, some as we speak, some tomorrow, and things of the sort. So if anybody has any information on those type things, just go right ahead and jump in. Any events, or you can either put them in the comments if you don't want to just come on just right now.
I know for people in or near Baltimore, Hess is organizing an All Saints Day event. Um, that's kind of like the first event the event that pops to mind. That's that comes to mind as in person, you know, offline in the real world.
Okay. Also, before we answer that question again, something that has really been on everyone's mind is recording. Um, did anybody record? Was that was supposed to be my job?
No, it's my job. It's recording. We good.
Oh, okay. Because let me tell y'all something. I met Emmanuel last year. He didn't even really know I met him. We just kind of like in the same energy. I walk into the Kinga, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I asked him, some spirit said, ask him. And I was like, you want to help? And he ended up doing a whole lot more than just being a panelist. And I want to say that that is my Capricornian brother. And whether he realized it or not, he my brother and I love him dearly. So thank you so much because
You're
yeah,
welcome.
like in this short time that we worked together on this, where I have fallen, he has picked up. And I really, really appreciate love him for that. So thank you. Um, and again, from my information, correct me if I'm wrong, Emmanuel, the recording depends on the length of the conversation and how wide the file is going to be and all of that. So we have to see how that is first and then see which ways we can disseminate it. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, but like we're gonna try our best to put this in a place where it can house the file, regardless of the size, and make sure that you guys can get to it. So just like sit tight.
It's coming.
Hey,
Yes.
let me know if you guys get a copy of it because I can put it on my YouTube if it's
Okay.
Oh, cool. That's perfect. Yeah,
small
thank you.
enough.
Yeah, I'd like to put it on my YouTube as well.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, I give thanks for all of that, y'all. All of that. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Anyone want to share? Ask?
I like to make a comment in closing. I just want to say that I am just so overwhelmed, overjoyed, and so proud of you all, you young folks, um, who have taken up the charge, who've answered the call and are doing a damn thing. I mean, this is just beyond anything that I could have envisioned. I honestly, to be honest, I really thought I wasn't going to see this type of reignited interest until I was either much older or wouldn't even see it at all in my lifetime. And I just want to say many blessings and thanks to each and every one of you, and to your ancestors and your families as well, because this wasn't just an answer to prayers that I specifically made over the years to the ancestors. These are the culmination of prayers that your ancestors made for you. And that's very beautiful and powerful thing. Let yourselves be covered by that, inspired by that, and empowered by that truth.
Yes, give thanks, give thanks. I see a hand raised, and please, I'm bad with names. Miss Giles, I'm a. Did I unmute? Let me see. Miss Giles, if you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
There
Can
you
you hear
go.
me?
Yes, and what is your first name?
Janisha.
Denisha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So kind of new to all of this, been very excited and grateful for all of the information, all the panelists and everything that's been shared. Um, a lot of emphasis was put on ancestors and your elders. Um, the side of my family that I think would have practiced pretty much have all passed away. So I don't have that kind of direct connection. So where do I even start to try and connect with them?
So which panelists want to jump in? Because I got an
I would
answer,
say
but I'm
start.
not a panelist. Go ahead.
I
Who? Go.
would say start with ancestor altar. Build that's that. Start with your ancestor altar, and I don't think you have to have a. I don't think to work with your ancestors you have to know that they practice hoodoo. Like they said, it's blackness, you know, and a lot of people may have ancestors who did practice and they just don't know. So, I would start with trying to set you up an altar and establish that relationship with your ancestors because it's not going to come overnight. It's going to take time.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Where are your people from,
Um,
darling?
my my father's side is from Haiti, and my mother's side, my grandmother is from the Netherlands, and my grandfather on my mother's side was from um, Alabama, Florida area.
Okay, so your people who were from this land are from Alabama. Are you
Mhm.
familiar? Are you still in touch? Are you close to your relatives from there?
No, everybody pretty much from my grandfather's side has passed away.
So you're the only living generation then from that part of your family.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, just like Sade said, connect with the ancestors. Um, just let them know, I am aware that these were traditions where, you honored your ancestors. They're always seen as alive, even though they're not here. And that's a tradition that has been taken from us here in this land. And just stand in that affirmation that you are opening up your arms to embrace those things that were lost and cut off, pretty much for survival purposes. Just be a living testimony and make that declaration and pledge yourself to your ancestors that you are open to receiving their guidance, their protection, their blessings, their favor, and leave them, some water or go outside and pour libations, you know, keep a glass of water inside your house, put a light source next to it, a candle or a lamp, if you want to, and a nice plant or some fresh cut flowers. And every now and then when you cook up something that's, traditional to your family from there, put a little bit on a saucer in their honor. Okay. And what you'll start to find is they will start to intuit certain glimpses of themselves into you by way of dreams, visions, coincidences, deja vus, just random things. They have a way of making themselves known to us. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Okay. But, some people do, yeah, they make Their presence is known to us, even if it's just a little inkling, if it's just a feeling that's impressed upon you. Okay. But the best place to start is just to openly acknowledge that this is something that was lost from you guys, and I'm going to be picking it back up again. I'm going to start rebuilding on the things that you all were forced to give up, okay, or forced to hide from the rest of the community or the rest of the family or the children or the grandchildren, etc., and so on. And what you'll find is that guidance that they give you, it starts to be more clear that it's from them, you see, because you're building on that relationship. Okay. And by the way, you might not know all of them, but they all know you. Okay. They all know who you are. They've been with you because they're in you. Okay. So if there is any sort of revelation to this, it'll be on your end, you know. But what they're going to do is celebrate the fact that you made it, because they've been praying for the restoration. You see? So they're just going to be so honored and so overjoyed that you are, conscientiously acknowledging them in you and around you. And that's the best place to start, because when we build up this type of exchange with our ancestors, their guidance becomes just way more tangible in our lives. That discernment becomes way more tangible and real for us. That's why I always tell people, before you initiate into another group or culture's tradition, especially if it's another diaspora tradition, because we're members of the diaspora too, and we have our own tradition. It's hoodoo,
Mhm.
But before you jump into someone else's tradition, have a good sense of your own people first. You see, have a sense of, what did your people do here? How did they get by? How did they survive because of racism and Jim Crow, and being disenfranchised or removed or cut off or discriminated against? How were they able to survive? What did they do to keep going? And maybe the folks that could sit you down and tell you these things are no longer here, but the ancestors are always with us. They're forever. They'll tell you what you need to know. Keep asking the questions. Okay.
Okay.
Just
Thank you
make
so
sure.
much.
You're very welcome. And I just want to leave you with this. Let them know that all your blessings are their blessings too, because you got it made in the shape as far as a lot of them are concerned. Okay. You living the way you live right now, it was so out of their reach when they were here, for a lot of them. The more, not the recent ones, but their ancestors. So
Right.
acknowledge that privilege, acknowledge that blessing, and just let them know all the good things that come to me, I share with you. All the good things that happened in my life is because of you. Okay. Because y'all are one. We can't keep thinking about our people being outside and cut off and some newfangled. No, they're a part of us. They're an extension of us. So, hold on to that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Mm.
you.
All right, dear.
I did want to say
Mm-hmm.
something about that too, because I remember I did a response to that in terms of just how to connect with your ancestors. And my thing was that we're already connected. Their blood is in our veins. We might not have known their names. We don't know what they look like. We don't know what their favorite food was. But once we start to acknowledge, I bet they'll tell us. You know what I mean? Um, One example that I did give was just the fact that, like, I was working with ancestors, and for whatever reason, I wanted coffee. I don't drink coffee. I do not. And I wanted it, had to have it. Like, yeah, I was fiending for it. And then, some said, okay, put it on your altar, see what happens. And it came to me that that particular ancestor had the questions that I needed to know. They didn't tell me their name. Hell, I really don't know if it was a man or woman. But to be honest with you, they gave me the peace of mind and the how to go about doing a certain thing, the certain question that I asked. So just acknowledge, like Auntie, like Mama Ru was saying. Sorry, about to call Auntie Mina. um, but just acknowledge, let them know that, hey, I'm listening. Hey, I'm listening. And like Sade said, it's not necessarily going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen if you're consistent with it and they know about it, and I feel like even if you don't know, maybe you'll start off giving them a peach. Okay. But the more you grow and be like, oh, so you like watermelon. Well, let me give that to you instead. But I bet you they're going to appreciate the peach because you weren't giving them none before, you know? So they'll grow with you as you grow and tell you. So yeah. And then you said you was Haitian too. Oh girl, you got a lot of that. Like yeah, for real. That's a very powerful story and powerful people. You got some power behind you running through your veins. You know what I mean? So yeah. All right. Anybody else have a question or want to say something?
Hello?
I want to go.
Wait, hold on. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go by who has the healing way.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for this beautiful afternoon. It just really has been so important to me and my family. And I just want to thank all of the panelists for everything that you've shared. I truly appreciate everything. And just sitting here and listening to everything, I absorbed so much, and just remembering some of the things that my grandmother did, my grandfather did. He carried a lucky rabbit's foot, just all of those things. It just listening today just brought up so many memories. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything.
Well, thank you so much for your energy. Seriously, like none of this could have happened without everybody else, you know. All of our energies coming together and really manifesting this moment. I really do appreciate love that. I appreciate every single person on the line, from panelists to everybody. Everybody, thank you so so much. Anyone else before we're not gonna get cut off so we can party. Miss Jasmine, I see a hand being raised.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
let me see ask you to mute yourself? I'm sorry. Let me see. Okay, I see Jasmine, and then I will say, is that a Whitney who would like to speak?
Yes, but Jasmine, I don't know how to raise my hand, but Jasmine can go first.
Okay, no problem. We'll have Jasmine, and then we'll have Whitney. Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to share like a short my experience with because I know that's a question that a lot of people have. It's a question that I had a lot. Um, Finding your mentors or your elders and how you go about that. And for me, I mean, I got divinations on it early on in my practice, and it was always go to your ancestors, go to your ancestors, listen to what they have to say, ask them for everything that you need, and they will open the way. And that has definitely been the case. Like they have been the gatekeepers, and giving me people and putting people into my circle that I can learn from. And I mainly learn from them. I mainly, they are my mentors. They give this to me in dreams and, like Mama Ruth said, and inklings and understandings. And I mean, I would wake up and just like literally have to write down something, like just keep writing because it was just spilling out. I mean, not even remembering the dream that I had, but waking up with that to write down. And then later on, I was able to find community, and they led me to people like Mama Ru, who were my, what I consider my mentors and my elders, but it was the internet. And I sat down with my ancestors and I said, I want proximity, I need elders that I can touch, that I can watch, that I can see. And my ancestors, nothing is coincidence, sent me those elders by way of a friend that I had made 5 years prior. And, we just had really this connection. And it was just so weird how we had this connection. It was otherworldly. We would be talking, we would be saying things to people separately, not knowing. And the people would be like, hey, you know who told me that? Rini told me exactly what you just told me. And and we would have this back to back to back. It was so weird. But again, nothing is coincidence. And that is the friend whose family stood up and said to her, your friend that you were saying, who practices hoodoo, tell her to come over. Tell her I need her to write this down. I need her to watch this. I need her to know this. I need somebody to take this with them because I don't have long here. And that has been my experience. Her family has poured this out to me, and I have
I wholly believe that it was my ancestors that set her in my path and set us together so that I could have those um, proximity ancestors that are close to me and tangible that I can learn from. So yeah, ancestors first.
Yes, I definitely so. Okay, Miss Whitney.
Hey y'all. Well, first I wanted to say thank you for the offering. It was great. I loved it. My video is not well, I'll try to turn it on. I don't know if it's gonna work. It's been being weird. But I just wanted to say, you know what, I'm from like the Arkansas, Mississippi Delta. So like when I think of like obviously hoodoo is in like buku other places like and so it looks different wherever you're from and so but like that's where I'm from so like when I think of it like I literally can drive around my hometown and probably point out like 10 crossroads or when I'm going to my family's house I can go in the country and can go to the crossroads literally like a dirt four-way stop but I think even along my journey even in my readings and like getting divinations I think it's just like I mentioned it in the chat earlier I still feel like a big imposter syndrome as if it is not for me so I just wonder like how did y'all, or if you have felt it, how did you deal with it? How did you process it? Because I feel like that's really just my biggest thing. It's like, I know it's for me, but like, how do you feel it with your whole self?
I can answer that. Can I answer that?
Hmm. Yeah, and then
Um,
Emmanuel, right? You want to go? Okay.
okay. That is basically by way of our assimilation and indoctrination into this society. Okay. What I call Urugu, um, which is basically Eurocentric society, thought, cultural mores, and so on. And we're taught to ignore that spirit part for the most part, unless it's under the guise of an organized religion, right? When we're sick, we're taught to go to the doctor, to take the Robitussin, or whatever the case may be. Um, but once you start to open yourself up to, I want to know the truth. I want to know what was taken, what was hidden. I want to know about these people. I want to know how people survived what they survived. I want to know how we made it, how we, made it over all these different things. That's where you start to feel that connection and it becomes real to you. Okay. You didn't come over here on no Mayflower, or your people didn't. So it's like, when you go back through the history and start to piece all these things together, you start to see patterns. Okay. The patterns on, how we moved a certain way, how we innovate and create, all of that is hoodoo. Okay. It's the underlying essence of who we are as a people. Okay. So you're basically just owning that and claiming that for yourself. Um, when it comes to trying to position yourself as something because you feel drawn to it, maybe that could you know be that sort of imposter syndrome because anybody can just wake up and make a declaration, oh, today I'm going to be a conjurer, or today I'm going to be a root worker. you know um that isn't really how it goes. You know what I'm saying? It is a process. Like Emmanuel said earlier, it takes patience to really understand certain things because of the nature of all of this. We didn't get this way overnight. So grasping the truth about who we are and who we belong to, I don't expect that to be an overnight process either. It takes time. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. My politics have changed, my worldview has changed. It took living through life and making sort of, sense out of the things that were presented in this world and me deciding to make the choices that I made. Like, I no longer want to be a part of that anymore. I don't want to be beholden to that anymore. I don't want to carry the lies they tell on us anymore. I don't want to, be judgmental about my people anymore. you know I don't want to be a part of the classism bullshit. or the elitist crap, or whatever the case may be. So it's a lot more than just making the decision like, okay, I'm Hoodoo, now what? Well, first of all, you've always been, right? The now what is just a matter of, how am I going to look at the world around me? How am I going to look at my people? How am I going to look at myself? How am I going to put meaning back into things that would ordinarily seem meaningless? Like just waking up in the morning and giving thanks to the ancestors, or greeting the sun, putting out a cup of coffee on the little thing just because it felt right to do, you know, versus you're doing it because somebody on the internet said this is what you do, right? Or somebody else shared this is how they do things. Okay. You have to do what feels natural. Okay. Your approach to your spirit life should not feel awkward or new or anything. It should always feel comfortable and familiar. So if something is comfortable and natural and familiar to you, there is no imposter there. I'm sorry, that's you. And you are a manifestation of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Okay. Your existence is proof of that. So you're not an imposter. So why should anything else you do, or anything that's an extension of you, carry that? Does that make sense at all?
Oops, it makes a lot of sense.
Good. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I was trying to do some more technical things behind the scenes. Does anybody else have anything they want to say regarding that, or have another question? Anything?
I think Emmanuel is talking, but I can't hear him.
Oh, I do. I see that he's not on mute, but I can't hear. No, not muted. I know that much.
What about now? Is that
Yeah,
better?
that's better. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like all I was gonna say is like, as someone who has struggled with this because social media is a bitch. Like it kind of is, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a blessing in that it lets us meet people that we probably wouldn't normally meet. But then it also presents information in a way that's pretty much for like aesthetics, and for approval. And I just want to say like, or just echo what Mama Ruth shared in terms of like, it's based on your attention. Like I would just encourage you to focus on being as opposed to like doing and how you show up. And 9 times out of 10, that imposter syndrome can be checked by what you do that is not for an audience and that is not on social media. Like saying good morning to your folks when you wake up, making 2 cups of coffee, one for yourself and one for them. You know what I'm saying? Like those are like simple, small steps that you can take to affirm your place in your tradition. But then also realizing that like a lot of people who kind of are doing this on social media, like they're kind of on bullshit in a way, like, you know, not to really, whatever, to be messy. My moon is in Gemini. This is what you're gonna get from me. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Oh, it's mine.
hey, but the fact of the matter is,
Mine must be. I don't know.
you are like reclaiming and recalling and remembering. So like your place in this is fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like your feet are like sturdy, your head is covered. All now you just got to give yourself time to like flourish. You know what I'm saying? So like, and like I get it. There's as a part of the like commodification of this. Me and friends talk about this all the time. There's like a look and an aesthetic like ascribed to this tradition and what sells, and like people tell me all the time, you look like you don't do this. And thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool. Like, that's like, this is who I am. And like, partially, like, I like the fact that like, I'm kind of unclockable. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be in a boardroom, and then I'd be like, you know, in the trap, hopefully. Cause like, for some reason, I aspire to be like the traps, like, you know, Hoodoo Man. Don't ask me why, but it's kind of what I want to do. But like, it took me a time to to just get comfortable, you know what I'm saying, in like my space, and then everything I needed to see and learn so that was either drawn to me or unfolded and revealed itself to me. So like just give yourself time, start small, don't worry about how you show up, don't worry about how you know what you do. It's who you are. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. The healing way, are you waving your hand? The healing way? Okay, well just unmute yourself. Or let me see if do I have to do it? Okay, if anybody else wants, oh, there you
Okay,
go.
I'm learning this technology just like you are, Karinka. It's really a challenge, but I'm here. Emmanuel, could you please restate what you just said? It was so beautiful. You said reclaiming, recalling, and remembering. What is that exactly what you said?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you so much. Okay.
He was channeling. He was channeling.
Okay. Someone please mute me because my baby's in the background.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. Again, thank y'all so much. I know it's getting late, but does anybody have anything else they want to say or ask or anything of the sort? And if so, just go ahead and
I just wanted to, I'm going to say good evening because I am losing my juice and my light.
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to say good night to everyone, and I really appreciate you putting this together. So I thank all of you that had a hand in making this possible, and for everyone that's listening who may not have spoken yet. I just really hope that you picked up some good fruit here today. I hope that you have a better understanding of what hoodoo is. It's not just something that you do, it's who we are. And if it's who we are, then everything we do is hoodoo. So on that note, happy Hoodoo Heritage Month to every one of you. And I'm wishing everybody love, peace, and powerful juju. And you can find me at mamaru.com. You can send me a note from there if you'd like. And that's where you book me for readings if you feel like you need a reading or want a reading, mamaru.com. Peace and love and blessings to all of you and to all of your ancestors too. Bye-bye, Hoodoos. I love you all.
Love, thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. And I see someone, Ashley Daniels. Did you want to say something? No? Okay, maybe the person was just accidentally off mute.
I was just agreeing with Emmanuel that he should be the trap Hoodoo man.
Well, there it is. There you go. You already are. Remember, you already are what you are. You know, you just have to step into the light a little bit. So you all right. We good. Trap star. But I just want to give a supreme thanks for the energies that came together to manifest this moment. The ancestors really coming together and really just making sure that everyone is here and for this exchange of energy, and just give so much thanks. Just give thanks to the creator for making all of this possible. Again, we did a list or tried to compile some resources as we were going along. I know I was writing some down. I'm going to try to look back through the comments to see if I missed anything. I will do my best to get that list, just probably post it, if not just on my IG page or in Walk into the King. I know maybe not everyone is in that group, but definitely. Yes, sir.
I'm going to compile the list of resources in like a graphic so it can be shared on social media. So just to make sure that it's in a format where majority of the people will be able to have access to it. So
wonderful.
So we will probably need to what's the word? I forgot. I just lost my train of thought. Cross-reference the resources and make sure that we got everything before I start putting it together.
Yeah, and we can probably, again, a lot of this is still not necessarily a work in progress, but we still want to make sure that we have kinks worked out and everything in terms of the recording and things of the sort. So we could probably try to, time that together or whatnot in terms of releasing it. Um, yeah, so again, just give thanks for the energy, give thanks for the moment, give thanks for Hoodoo Heritage Month. Tomorrow, just make sure we're honoring our ancestors for All Saints Day. I don't know about y'all, but I'm just cooking a lot of good food and making sure my candles are lit. I actually live in a place where I don't necessarily have relatives at a graveyard, and I know that a graveyard is one of them things that you got to be like who you here with and who you here to see type thing. So I'm not just gonna go venture into one of those tomorrow. But if you have some family members that you want to go, just be sure to go honor them. Take them something they liked, whatever it was, however spirit tells you to do it. That's the important thing. Um, yeah. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Again, if some panelists are still on the line or anyone, if you have a business you'd like to promote or just want to get seen, just put it in the comments. Everybody check everybody out. We're all family here. We all need to share and support each other. That's definitely one way that we're going to keep our community and keep us going, is to make sure that we are sharing and linking with each other. So yeah, just put everything down there. Someone asked me my IG. I just saw this question over here. I am Southern Roots Woman. That's SOUTHERNROOTSWOMBAN. That's my IG. I'll definitely put it in the comments as well. And I'll put a link to my website is there too. Again,
How do
just
you find the comments? I'm so sorry. How do you find the comments? Because I'm on my phone and I don't know. I can't see.
oh, I'm not exactly sure,
I want
but
you have an option to
there you
look
go.
up chat, to tap chat, to tap the
No,
chat icon.
all I see is share, participant, more, and stop video.
Click
Click on
more,
more.
see what comes
Okay,
up.
trying to get there. Then.
Because I don't mind posting in chat, but it's gonna be just a lot of text and stuff to read through. But we will do our hardest to make sure that we can consolidate the most vital information and get it out to you. In terms of like resources, sites, things of that nature. So if you
And
can
you,
look through the chat, don't stress it. We're gonna try to do our best to consolidate this for you.
okay, thank you so much. And what was your website again, Emmanuel?
My website is bybasnight, BYBASNIGHT, .com. That's my name. Yeah, that's it. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm kind of looking to this chat too. It's kind of popping off. All right, going back on mute.
Yeah, I think you already put my info in the chat, but I really don't know because I can't go back because me and my savviness with the computer here.
Got you.
And then I just want to put my website as well. Uh, so please bear with me. I will probably look crazy on this thing right now. I'm going back. Okay, so again, everybody, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for joining in and spending the afternoon, evening with us. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Just be continually blessed. And yeah, just go party with the ancestors now. That veil is open, y'all. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I'm finna go do. All right, I'm stop being silly. Everybody looking at me. All right, I love you all dearly. Thank you so much. And again, I'm sorry. It looked like somebody was saying something. No? Okay, I apologize. But love y'all. Thank you. Bye-bye.